Waves of Chinzan realm aura spread out from the sea of fire, and the entire Chingling world was trembling. A total of 200 skeleton thrones appeared in the sea of fire. The skeleton king slowly stood up. The skeleton throne turned into a bone sword and fell on the skeleton king. 200 skeleton kings and 200 low-level heavenly beings. The skeleton kings increase each other's strength, offsetting part of the suppression from the clear spirit realm. The suppression of the Chingling realm is not as strong as Lin Moyu imagined, perhaps partly because the skeleton king has integrated into the 7th level origin. Their fighting power is still terrifying, at least better than the peak supreme. Chinzan is Chinzan, no matter how suppressed, he is still Chinzan. Chingling Chinzan's face became extremely ugly, and he couldn't believe it. How come there are so many Chinzan realm puppets? Could it be that a 6th order world can be so strong? No wonder the demon tiger realm failed. How could he fight against 200 skeleton kings who were at the low-level heavenly realm? It was true that the starving dragon was bigger than the horse, and he began to regret that he should not have come. Despair grew in my heart, and suddenly a thought came to my mind. If I end up personally, there may be a chance of improvement. As soon as this idea came to his mind, a cultivator suddenly appeared next to Lin Moyu. Kujun appeared silently. He stood beside Lin Moyu and stared at Chingling Chinzan expressionlessly. Kujun also exudes the aura of the intermediate heavenly lord, and his strength is not much worse than that of the Chingling heavenly lord. Perhaps fighting alone, Chingling Chinzan would not be afraid of him. But now, where's the fight alone? There are still 200 skeleton kings watching eagerly around. Lin Mo said, once again, you decide for yourself whether you want to end up or not. After speaking, Lin Moyu pointed towards the Chingling realm army. An illusory and hazy aura appeared, and a hell of bones suddenly evolved in the void. In the clear spirit world, the bone hell is also suppressed, with a range of only 0.1 light years. Compared to the 10 light years in the big world, I don't know how many times less it is. But 0.1 light year is completely enough here. As soon as the bone hell appeared, it swallowed up the entire army of the Chingling realm. The evil spirits of hell flew out, and the flames of hell boiled, like a volcano erupting, with 10 fireballs in the air and endless flames falling from the line. The flowers on the other side are in full bloom, and the blue light and flames interweave to form a strange color. The eyes of the undead opened at the same time, staring at the hell of bones. The souls were shocked one after another, and screams came one after another. The Chingling realm army immediately began to resist, but their resistance seemed particularly weak. There were only 3 heavenly lords, who kept beating the hell of bones, causing the hell of bones to tremble continuously. The 10,000-meter-long grass among them burst out with shocking sword energy, almost cutting the bone hell in half. The evil spirits from hell that were swept away by the sword energy were knocked back one after another. The bone hell is very strong and blocked Chinzan's attack in a short period of time. The skeleton kings rushed out one after another. They possessed the power of time and space, and their speed was astonishing. They rushed into the clear spirit world army as if teleporting. The skeleton king was targeting the 3 heavenly lords of the clear spirit realm. 200 against 3, this was no longer a group fight, it was simply a massacre. Willow branches and vines broke under the skeleton king's sword. Wami Xiaocao's sword energy was suppressed and he could only barely protect himself. Lin Moyu saw that these plant creatures did not have much intelligence. It should be related to Chingling Chinzan. Chingling Chinzan doesn't like the creatures in his world and has too much wisdom. In this way, it will be easier to control, but the combat power will be weakened accordingly. At this moment, Chingling Chinzan looked extremely ugly. He could see that his plant army could not stop Lin Moyu's attack. Defeat is only a matter of time. Unless you take action, it is possible to reverse the situation. But can he take action himself? Glancing at Kujun next to Lin Moyu, he could feel that Kujun was firmly locked on him. As long as you take action, the other party will also take action. Although he is not afraid of the other party, it is hard to say whether he can escape smoothly if these Chinzan-level puppets are added to him. But if he didn't take action, he would be very unwilling to watch the army he had cultivated be destroyed. Lin Moyu looked at Chingling Tianzuan and guessed his character. You can see a lot from his expression. His character is very cautious and at the same time very entangled. Such a character can indeed live longer, but it is difficult to reach a higher state. In cultivation, everything is never smooth sailing, and there are always dangers. If you are unwilling to take risks, it will be difficult to achieve higher achievements. Flowers in a greenhouse cannot withstand wind and rain. This principle applies no matter where it is. But if you take risks carelessly, without thinking whether there is danger or not, you will die quickly. Courage and wisdom are extremely important in the process of cultivation. You need to make correct judgments in order to go further and further. Chingling Tianzuan's caution allowed him to make the final choice. He chose to give up the world war. Although cultivating a world is very hard and takes a lot of time and energy, this world is very precious to Chingling Tianzuan. But compared with his own life, it became nothing. Chingling Tianzuan's expression began to relax. He no longer looked at the battlefield, but looked at Lin Moyu. His eyes were strange, like hatred, but not hate. As if he wanted to remember Lin Moyu, he whispered, "Are you the strongest person in this world?" Lin Moyu admitted openly, "Yes." "What's your name?" Chingling Tianzuan asked again. Lin Moyu also admitted generously, "Lin Moyu." If a strong man doesn't even dare to say his name, what qualifications does he have to pursue a higher realm? Chingling Tianzuan said, "Okay, I will remember you. I believe that one day, you will set foot on the origin continent. Although I lost this world war, the person who defeated me was not you, but the legacy of your world. In the future, I will compete with you again to see who is stronger." After saying that, Chingling Tianzuan turned and left. He is still the master of the world. As long as Lin Moyu doesn't stop him, he can leave the world in just a thought. Lin Moyu had no intention of committing suicide in the first place. After all, he was a mid-level heavenly lord and had power behind him. If possible, let them go. Shueiji Tianzuan said that unless he never goes to the origin continent in this life. Otherwise, if you offend too many people, you will definitely be beaten the moment you set foot on the origin continent. If things go wrong, Dao Zun will take action. This kind of life is not a good one. Chingling Tianzuan left, cutting off the connection with Chingling World, and Chingling World became a world without an owner. This battle was fought too quickly. The fusion had just begun and the battle was already over. Who would have thought that Lin Moyu could take the initiative to fight Liao Nuo and crush him with an absolute advantage, without losing his temper at all? As soon as Chingling Tianzuan left the world, he immediately sent a message to Yang Ming Tianzuan and Feden Tianzuan, "I lost. You should be smart. It's important to save your life. Don't seek death." The two of them were shocked at the same time when they received the message from Chingling Tianzuan. For Jiahai, only a minute or two had passed, so why did he lose? Yang Tianzuan immediately asked, "What happened?" Fifiat and Tianzuan also asked at the same time, "Tell me clearly what's going on. You guys probably haven't fully integrated yet." Chingling Tianzuan said, "The opponent is too strong. He came directly and couldn't beat us. Fortunately, he didn't mean to kill us, so you should be smart and don't die in vain. I'm leaving. See you in Origin Continent later." Chingling Tianzuan left, leaving the Boundary Sea with a hint of sadness, and returned to the Origin Continent. Yang Tianzuan and Feden Tianzuan were left behind, looking at each other, and they both felt a chill at the same time. The water in the Sixth Order world is too deep, and they feel like they are going to fall in. Yang Tianzuan and Feden Tianzuan were anxious, watching their world approaching the big world. They are unable to change the direction of the world, and the fog of the world has already locked the direction. The only thing they can do now is to choose not to integrate. I hope that after the two worlds collide, they will bounce off each other. Although if you do that, your world will suffer trauma, but it is better than destruction. Yang Ming Chinzan made up his mind and said to Feden Chinzan, I will let the world of Yang Ming collide with it and change its direction, so that it will not collide with the world of fellow Taoist Feden. Feden Chinzan looked moved, but if this happens, the world of fellow Taoist Yang Ming will be severely damaged. The opponent is a sixth-order world. This collision will be quite powerful. Yang Tianzuan smiled bitterly, it's better than being destroyed. Although it will inevitably be severely damaged, the foundation is still there, and it will take some time to recover. The words of fellow Taoist Chingling are not false. To be able to make fellow Taoist Chingling admit defeat in such a short period of time means that his strength has been completely crushed. Feden Tianzuan lowered his eyes, it seems that this is the only way. Fellow Taoist Yang Ming is so righteous, Feden will definitely make compensation in the future. Yang Tianzuan actually doesn't want his world to be harmed, but this is also a helpless move. The foundation of the sixth-order world is so strong that it is unimaginable. This is not a big piece of fat, but a highly poisonous medicine. What is ridiculous is that they 210 are still fighting to eat it themselves. In the panic, 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The big world finally emerged from the mist. The sixth-order big world was more than 10 times larger than the worlds of Yang Tianzuan and Feden Tianzuan. In the past, when I was far away, I didn't feel anything. Now that the distance is close, coupled with Chingling Tianzuan's lessons learned from the past, Yang Tianzuan finally feels the pressure brought by the sixth-order world. The big world is like a giant, rolling in the huge waves of the world sea, as if it wants to crush its Yang Ming world into powder. Yang Tianzuan had to wonder, could his own world really be able to withstand the collision between the two worlds? At this time, he suddenly shrank his eyes and said, there is someone. His figure flew up fiercely, flying higher than the big world. Through the fog, he saw a person sitting on the big world, a high-level supreme being. Lin Moyu sat on the big world and said hello to Master Yang Ming. I have met Master Yang Ming. Yang Mingzan looked at Lin Moyu and asked, what's the matter with you? Although Lin Moyu was only a high-level supreme master, Master Yang Ming felt the danger from Lin Moyu. Yang Tianzuan's spiritual sense is very strong, and he also believes in his own spiritual sense. He feels that this high-level supreme being in front of him is very dangerous. A supreme being can actually, make him feel danger. This kind of thing is too abnormal. Lin Moyu smiled and said, Senior wants the Yang Ming realm and my world to collide and change the direction of the two worlds at the cost of being hurt. As soon as these words came out, Yang Mingzuan's expression suddenly changed. His thoughts were actually known. But then I thought about it, the other party was not an idiot, and it was normal for him to guess what he was doing. Thinking that the sixth-order world in front of him had no master, and the choice should be on his own side, he felt relieved again. Master Yang Ming admitted openly, so what? Lin Mo said, Senior's idea is good, but I still want to try to see if I can stop Senior. Master Yang Ming frowned slightly, how to stop it? Although the sixth-order world is powerful, it has no master. Lin Moyu smiled and said, I plan to prevent the two worlds from colliding. What kind of method is this to prevent the two worlds from colliding? Suddenly, Master Yang Ming realized something. What do you want to do? Before he finished speaking, Lin Moyu had already stood up. He stepped out across the distance between the two worlds and arrived in front of Yang Mingji in an instant. Then he punched out. Using high-level supreme power, he made a small hole in Yang Ming realm and rushed in. Master Yang Ming finally knew what Lin Moyu was going to do, and he rushed directly into Yang Ming realm. Bold! Yang Tianzuan let out an angry roar and quickly entered his own world. Feden Tianzuan not far away heard the roar of Yang Ming Tianzuan and immediately asked, what happened? But he didn't get a response. He didn't know that Yang Ming Zun had entered his world. In Yang Ming realm, Lin Moyu spread out his undead wings and moved forward quickly. At the same time, Lin Moyu was also feeling this strange world. In Yang Ming realm, there are only two colors, black and white. Black represents shadow and white represents yang. At the same time, the number of laws inside is also extremely rare, with only a few types. It can be inferred from the situation in the world that Yang Tianzuan is also a person who distinguishes between black and white. Don't like complexity, but prefer simple style. The advantage of doing this is that it can evolve a certain law to the extreme, making the creatures in the world stronger and more extreme. The disadvantage is that it has poor adaptability and is easily targeted. For Lin Moyu, it doesn't matter. No matter whether it is simple or complex, I will break it with my strength. After crossing the edge of Yang Ming realm, Lin Moyu quickly entered the interior of Yang Ming realm and saw the structure of Yang Ming realm. In the Yang Ming realm, there are no stars or continents, just masses of water. These water masses are black and white, half black and half white, and each one is as big as a galaxy. They are constantly twisting and changing shapes in the void, and there are a large number of creatures living inside the water mass. Not only are there creatures inside the water mass, but the water mass itself is also a kind of creature. It seems that the creatures inside the water mass are more like parasites in the water mass. This reminded Lin Moyu of a kangaroo, with the child living in his pocket. In the center of the water mass, there is light shining, like a star, providing energy to the water mass and the creatures in it. There are millions of people in the world, and they are all different. Lin Moyu saw a brand new world today. This world is a bit interesting. Lin Moyu looked at it for a while and suddenly took 2 steps back. A ray of sword light flashed across the place where he originally stood, and Master Yang Tian appeared in front of Lin Moyu. With his appearance, huge pressure in the Yang Ming realm came from all directions, as if Lin Moyu was going to be squeezed into a meat pie. This is an independent world with a master. Under the control of Lord Yang Tian, the power of the entire world was targeting Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt unprecedented pressure, which was very different from the previous situation after the Chingling realm merged into the big world. The pressure he faced now was several times stronger than when he was in the Chingling realm. The firelight flowed from Lin Moyu's body, and his immortal golden body shone brightly, resisting the boundless pressure. Yang Tianzuan stared at Lin Moyu. "What on earth are you going to do?" Lin Mo said, "The battle in the world is not about right or wrong, only about success or failure. Senior, you and I each have our own goals. I only want the Yang Ming realm. You can choose to take action, but you will be responsible for the consequences." After the words fell, Lin Moyu snapped his fingers. The immortal flames exploded into a sea of fire, and the skeleton throne emerged from the sea of fire. This time, Lin Moyu summoned 400 skeleton kings. Yang Ming realm puts too much pressure on him, and 200 skeleton kings are not enough. At the same time, Kujun also appeared next to Lin Moyu, staring at Yang Tianzuan indifferently. There were bursts of Buddhist sounds, and the Buddhist Lich and the Divine Lich appeared together with Kujun. When the Skeleton King appeared, Yang Tianzuan's expression changed drastically, 400 Tianzuan, and even mid-level Tianzuan. Lin Moyu didn't answer, and pointed his finger towards Yang Mingjie. The mist rises, and the hell of bones suddenly emerges, swallowing the water mass. Just do it. Lin Moyu was not ambiguous at all. The bone hell swallowed a large amount of water mass instantly. The water mass itself, including the creatures inside, kept screaming and wailing in the bone hell. Master Yang Ming roared angrily, "Stop!" Unfortunately, Lin Moyu didn't listen to him at all, and Wang swung his bone sword to kill the water group. There are several giant water masses that have reached the Tianzuan realm, and they are the targets of the Skeleton King. Facing an opponent that is dozens or hundreds of times greater than oneself, it is impossible to stop these Tianzuan-level water masses. Yang Mingzun's anger rose, and he shouted angrily, "I told you to stop, did you hear it?" His aura rose, and the aura of the intermediate heavenly lord spread in the void, crushing Lin Moyu with terrifying pressure. Kujun took a step forward and stood in front of Lin Moyu, blocking Lin Moyu's pressure. Lin Moyu's voice came out slowly, "Senior, you have to think clearly. Once you take action, there is no turning back. Winning or losing the world war is actually not a big deal. As long as there is still life, anything is possible. Master Yang Ming said coldly, "Do you think you can kill me?" Although Kujun is also a middle-level heavenly lord, this is Yang Ming realm, his world. Here, he can call the wind and rain. Even if the 400 skeleton kings come together, they may not be able to kill him. He takes advantage of his home court advantage to strengthen himself and suppress his opponents. He can fight and leave whenever he wants. Lin Mo said, "Senior is very confident in his own strength, which is a good thing. But you will know if you can kill him or not. You will know after trying. If Senior wants to try, I will treat you as a machine. There is only one time." Yang Tianzuan stared at Lin Moyu with murderous intent rising in his eyes. He indeed had the idea of taking action. But in the end, his rationality was still reminding him, asking him to think about it again. Lin Moyu continued, "Chingling Tianzuan understands better than the seniors that life and death are important matters. If you lose the battle for the world, you will lose. The worst is to do it again. If you can really become a Taoist, the opportunity may not necessarily lie in the world war." While speaking, huge legions appeared behind Lin Moyu. Hundreds of Dragon Knight legions are densely packed in the void, each legion numbering more than 10 million. The Dragon Knight's body is filled with immortal fire, and his momentum is extremely terrifying. The commander of the Dragon Cavalry Legion, his own combat power has reached the level of a low-level Tianzuan. With the addition of control, his combat power is comparable to that of the Skeleton King. Even the captains in the Legion have reached low-level Tianzuan in combat experience. Although the Dragon Knights among the Legion members have only the highest level of combat power, Legion operations never take individual combat power as the standard. The most important thing is that their number is astonishing. Hundreds of Dragon Knight legions, more than 1 billion Dragon Knights, occupy a large area of virtual territory. Once surrounded, Yang Tianzuan will shed his skin even if he doesn't die. The appearance of the Dragon Cavalry Legion was like a basin of cold water poured on Yang Tianzuan's head. A quick sizzle brought him to his senses. He realized that the strength displayed by the high-level Supreme in front of him was only part of it. What we have seen so far is not all of his strength. If he really takes action, he may be greeted by a thunderstrike. At that time, not only will the world war be defeated, but his own life will also be left here. Tianzuan cherishes his life very much. They can live for a long time and no one wants to die. If you fail in the world war, you will fail. At worst, you will lose an opportunity, but there will be many more opportunities in the future. If you lose your life, it's really over. Lin Moyu could guess his inner thoughts through Yang Mingzuan's eyes. It seems that Senior has figured it out. Yang Mingzuan looked at Lin Moyu with complicated eyes, and then looked at his own Yang Ming realm. Groups of water-like creatures are being swallowed by the skeleton hell, and the strongest Tianzuan realms are also being surrounded and killed by the Skeleton King. With his Tianzuan's eyesight, he could completely see that the defeat was certain. There was helplessness in Yang Tianzuan's eyes, and finally he looked at Lin Moyu coldly. "What's your name?" Lin Moyu admitted generously, "Lin Moyu." Master Yang Ming nodded. "I will remember you. When you arrive in the origin continent in the future, I will treat you to a drink." "Drink? Guanchi wine?" Lin Moyu knew that he must have offended Master Yang Tian, but he still wanted to offend him to death. Lin Mo said, "If this junior is lucky enough to step into the origin continent in the future, then I can go forward and apologize in person." Lin Moyu's face was extremely thick-skinned even if he didn't hit the smiling person. Yang Mingzuan couldn't say anything harsh for a while. After all, the other party is only a high-level supreme, and he is already an intermediate-level heavenly. There is an insurmountable gap between them. But just like that, he still lost. Yang Mingzuan was very unwilling, but he had to admit defeat, and he didn't even dare to take action himself. In the end, Master Yang Ming said a harsh word with a hint of unwillingness. "Okay, I'd like to see what you can do to accomplish me then." After saying that, he left Yang Ming realm and decisively severed the relationship with Yang Ming realm. Once Tianzuan makes a decision, he will be very decisive. In this way, no matter what happens in Yang Ming realm, it has nothing to do with him. 0. Please give me flowers 0. Outside the world, within the sea. Feden Tianzuan suddenly sensed Yang Ming Tianzuan, and he immediately sent a message, fellow Taoist Yang Ming, what happened? Master Yang Ming sighed, there was a guy in that world who was very ungrateful in martial arts. He went straight into Yang Ming realm. I can't beat him, so I have to admit defeat. Our plan has failed. Feden Tianzuan's expression changed greatly, there is such a powerful person in that world? Yang Tianzuan snorted angrily, the most irritating thing is that guy is just a high-level supreme person. Feden Tianzuan showed a look of disbelief, how is this possible? Master Yang Ming sighed, we have all underestimated the foundation of the Sixth Order world. How could a world that was once so powerful become weak? Feden Tianzuan immediately understood the meaning of Yang Mingzun's words. It was not the high-level supreme who defeated Yang Mingzun, but the heritage left behind by the Sixth Order world. 0. In this case, it makes sense. Feden Tianzuan comforted him, we have never seen how powerful the Sixth Order world is. We are just basing our guesses on it. Perhaps our guess is wrong. The Sixth Order world is much stronger than us. Even if Yang Ming loses in the first round, it is normal. Yang Tianzuan said, this is what I want to tell fellow Taoist Feden. If you lose, you lose. As long as your life is still there, you will have plenty of opportunities. Chingling Tianzuan actually meant the same thing before. If you lose in the world battle, you lose. Yes, living is the first priority. Feden Tianzuan nodded, thank you Yang Ming Taoist for reminding me to write it down. Yang Ming Tianzuan took one last look at his Yang Ming realm, gritted his teeth, you brat, I want to take a look, how can you apologize to me? Feden Tianzuan watched Yang Ming Tianzuan leave and sighed. Their plan failed, and his Feden garden was about to collide with the big world. No, it should be said that before the collision, the opponent will enter the Feden realm. Feden Tianzuan whispered, no matter what, you must give it a try. I am not someone to be bullied in the Feden world. He dived into the Feden world and prepared to fight. After a moment, a ball of flame enveloped the entire Yang Ming realm. The Yang Ming realm quickly shrank and gradually disappeared in the firelight. Lin Moyu used the fire of burning the world to age the entire world. This was the first time he had refined a complete world, and the effect of the world burning fire was surprisingly good. The world is constantly being refined and shrinking rapidly, and the impurities in the origin are also being removed during the refining process. The fire that burned the world not only refined the world, but also transformed the origin. Soon Lin Moyu got a piece of world crystal, the original crystal 10 refined from the Fifth Order world. Origin crystals can be divided into many types, and even within the same level, there are differences in quality. Lin Moyu had seen a lot of the same Fifth Order origin crystals, and the quality was not much different. Compared to the Fifth Order origin refined from the Fifth Order world, although everyone is the Fifth Order origin, the difference is obvious. Lin Moyu felt that the Fifth Order origin he had fused was far inferior to this world crystal. Even the Sixth Order origin seems to be inferior to it. If the origins are divided into 3, 6, or 9 levels, then the origins refined in the world of Tianjihai are definitely the most top-notch ones among the origins of the same level. This is also why those heavenly lords come to Jihai to fight for the world, isn't it, for these top origins? This world crystal can be used to integrate into your own magic, and the effect will be quite good. It can also be used to improve one's own rules world and allow one to break through to a higher realm. Not to mention Tianzuan, it will definitely not be a problem to reach the peak of Supreme. Lin Wu Yisan thought silently for a while, and finally decided to give the world crystal to the big world to absorb. He still wants to strengthen his connection with the big world and become the master of the world as soon as possible. In the Boundary Sea, the world has no master and there are always many inconvenient places. Lin Moyu has not returned to the big world for the time being. The Feden world is coming soon. After finishing the Feden world, let the big world absorb it together. In the fog, the two worlds are getting closer and closer. Shueiji Tianzuan was drinking wine and eating melons under the boundary sea. I didn't expect that the brat actually did it. The brat's strength seems to have become stronger again. Every time his realm is improved, his strength will increase by 1 point. Furthermore, his spells seem a bit weird. Some of them can activate the power of the Great Avenue. They don't look like the spells in the world of Jihai. Shueiji Tianzuan shook his head, and with his knowledge, he was a little confused. But he couldn't understand it, so Shueiji Tianzuan simply didn't think about it. It was more comfortable to drink his own wine. Feden Tianzuan completed his arrangement and appeared outside the world again, looking at the coming big world. The 6th level world broke through the fog and appeared in front of Feden Tianzuan. Feden Tianzuan showed an expression that was almost the same as that of Yang Ming Tianzuan. The sense of oppression brought by the 6th level world could not be felt from a distance. There used to be 8 heavenly lords in the big world, and there were also beings like the mysterious master who were close to the Taoist lords. The gods in the world have already begun to search for the road leading to Dao Zun. This shows that these Tianzuan are no longer low-level Tianzuan. The big world also swallowed up hundreds of worlds, large and small, in countless years. The combination of the two gave the world unimaginable pressure. Feden Tianzuan swallowed a mouthful of saliva and suppressed the throbbing in his heart. He really wanted to devour this powerful 6th order world, but unfortunately he knew that it would be difficult for him to do so. Not long after breaking through the fog in the 6th order world, he saw Lin Moyu sitting in the world. Lin Moyu stood up slowly and saluted Fifan Tianzuan with cupped fists. Junior Lin Moyu has met Feden Tianzuan. Very polite. Feden Tianzuan thought that Lin Moyu was some kind of evil person, but now he looks like a handsome and polite young man. The cultivation level is indeed high-level supreme. It seems that it relies on the heritage left behind. Is the foundation of the 6th order world so terrifying? Fifan Tianzuan thought to himself, and at the same time responded politely, "Are you the strongest person in this world?" Lin Moyu smiled slightly. Master Yang Tianming has already told Senior about the situation. I don't want Senior to end up personally. Winning or losing in the world war is actually not that important to Senior, right? Feden Tianzuan whispered, "It is very important, but compared with life, it is not that important." Lin Moyu smiled, "I really envy the seniors who can come and go freely, but for the juniors, this world war can only be won but not lost." Feden Tianzuan naturally understood the meaning of Lin Moyu's words. The two had different identities. I come from the continent of origin and come to the world sea to participate in the world war. If the world war fails, it will just be a waste of time and energy. The destruction of the world actually has nothing to do with him. He can just pat his butt and leave. Lin Moyu was born in the world of Jihai. He is a native creature in the world of Jihai. He has been tied to the world of Jihai since he was born. Failure in the world war means nothing more than 2 outcomes for Lin Moyu. One is to get the permission of the new owner and continue to live in the new world, but you will be controlled by others for life. The other way is to cut off the connection with the world, but this approach is to hurt the enemy by 1,000 and hurt yourself by 800. Both myself and the world will be harmed, but Tianzuan can still bear it, but if supreme is the case, it will probably be difficult to move forward in the future. So for Lin Moyu, this world battle can only be won but not lost. Fifan Tianzuan whispered, "I understand your difficulties, but as Tianzuan, I will not give up easily." Lin Moyu clasped his fists slightly. Junior understands. There is no need to say more. Feden Tianzuan has made it clear that he will not end up, but it is impossible for him to admit defeat directly. Anyway, he was going to fight, and he was ready. At this time, Feden Tianzuan tapped his finger lightly, and the world barrier of Feden realm automatically opened, revealing a passage. Lin Moyu understood it, got up and rushed into the Feden world, and Fifan Tianzuan also followed directly. In the Fi-Mortal world, Lin Moyu once again felt the oppression from the world. The oppressive force of Feden realm is stronger than that of Yang Ming realm, which also shows that the power of Feden realm is stronger. There are flames everywhere, and there is majestic vitality in the flames. This kind of vitality flame is the best flame to use for making elixirs. Feden Tianzuan was only 10,000 meters away from Lin Moyu and whispered, "This is the world I created, the world of elixirs." This world was created for elixirs, and the world itself is also a great elixir. Feden Tianzuan did not shy away from introducing his world to Lin Moyu. There was a hint of pride in his words. It was obvious that he was very satisfied with his world. The flame-bearing energy gave Lin Moyu the feeling that the flying pill realm was not only a pill itself, but also an alchemy furnace. Lin Moyu said, "If you had attacked me just now, you might have had a chance to kill me." Feden Tianzuan's eyes widened. "I've always been upright. How could I do such a dirty thing? If you want to fight, then fight openly." As he spoke, he pointed his finger, and the world was boiling with flames, and countless pills flew out of the flames. The pills blasted away, transforming into living beings. The elixirs in the Feden world are the creatures inside. These creatures have different shapes and exude powerful auras. There are 6 Tianzuan, although they are all low-level Tianzuan 1.1. Zun is indeed the strongest among several worlds. The number of Supremes exceeds 200,000. The creatures transformed by these pills have almost no fixed body shape and are constantly changing in the void. Feden Tianzuan said, "Show me your foundation and let me see how powerful the 6th level world was." Lin Moyu nodded and snapped his fingers. The flames exploded into a sea of fire, and 400 skeleton thrones emerged at the same time. 400 skeleton kings held bone swords and stood side by side. Lin Mo said, "Senior, do you think it's okay?" Feden Tianzuan's mouth twitched. "It's not bad." Lin Moyu asked in a low voice, "Then how are we going to fight?" Hit, spank. How to fight 400 low-level heavenly lords. Feden Tianzuan's expression became extremely exciting. He snorted several times and said, "I have a trick here. If you can withstand it, you will win." Lin Moyu nodded. "If you can't handle it, then this junior will retreat immediately." Both of them are above board, even fighting a battle, they have discussions. Feden Tianzuan couldn't help but glance at Lin Moyu. "That's good, little guy. If you can set foot on the Origin continent in the future, come to the Alchemy Emperor sect. I will protect you." Lin Moyu agreed. "Thank you, senior." Well, this is already the 2nd Tianzuan who wants to cover himself. Lin Moyu was indeed above board, but not that pedantic. He knew that if Feden Tianzuan had this secret method, even if he didn't agree with it, Feden Tianzuan could still use this secret method, and he would still have to bear it. It would be better to do it openly and appear more upright. Lin Moyu had confidence in himself. No matter what secret method it was, it would be difficult to kill so many skeleton kings. If Feden Tianzuan really had such heaven-defying strength, he wouldn't talk so much nonsense with him. Feden Tianzuan formed a series of hand seals with his left hand. Although his right hand began to draw runes, he drew an ancient rune, which was a bit complicated. Lin Moyu felt that the rune drawn by Feden Tianzuan looked familiar. It was a 4th-level ancient rune that he had seen and drawn before. Isn't this the 03 rune used for alchemy? Xiaodan Tianzuan's way of drawing runes is not very skillful. It seems that he is not as good as me. Lin Moyu was a little surprised. He did not expect that the Tianzuan from the original continent could also draw runes. The drawn runes are different from the runes in the big world, but the difference is not big. There were only a few subtle differences, and Lin Moyu could draw it after just looking at it for a moment, and he was confident that his drawing would be even better than Feden Tianzuan. The most important thing is that from the actions of Feden Tianzuan, it can be inferred that the Origin continent also has runes, and there are also runes. Lin Moyu was already thinking about whether he could fly. "I got some information from Dan Tianzuan, which may be useful in the future. There is also Shueiji Tianzuan, he should know more or less." Feden Tianzuan combined the hand seals with the runes and shouted angrily, "Now!" In an instant, All the creatures evolved from the elixir collapsed at the same time, turning into elixirs one by one. This change made Lin Moyu feel a little interesting, and it could be reversed. The elixirs gathered together and merged with each other, and an elixir furnace appeared in the void. The alchemy furnace is extremely huge, standing tall against the sky and the earth, occupying a large area of void. The elixir penetrated into the alchemy furnace, and in an instant, boundless flames rose from the alchemy furnace. The flames in the void also boiled, and they got into the alchemy furnace one after another, making the flames in the alchemy furnace even more intense. The whole process seems complicated, but it is actually very fast, taking only 1 or 2 seconds. Feden Chinzan said loudly, "Little friend, follow my technique, the alchemy fire melts the sky." The flames from the alchemy furnace rushed out, swept across the world, occupied all voids, and penetrated into every corner and every layer of time and space. Facing Chinzan's attack, especially in the world of Feden Chinzan, the power of time and space will not play any role. So Lin Moyu did nothing. He was prepared to be tough. Only in this way could Feden Chinzan be convinced. Simply, Lin Moyu put away all the skeleton kings. This action made Feden Chinzan have a great impression of Lin Moyu. In his opinion, Lin Moyu was so upright that he didn't even need a puppet and only relied on his high-level supreme body to resist his alchemy fire. Lin Moyu's whole body was shrouded in immortal flames, and his immortal golden body glowed brightly, and it was on the outermost layer. And on the outermost layer, there is an invisible brocade garment. The lichen brocade appeared silently and used the blessing of the avenue to protect Lin Moyu. In the face of Chinzan's flame attack, although Dao blessing cannot completely offset it, it can at least reduce most of the damage. The remaining damage will be resisted by the immortal golden body, then weakened by damage transfer and talent, and will eventually fall on all the undead legions, born by more than 30 billion undead. In the eyes of Feden Chinzan, Lin Moyu was above board, but in fact, Lin Moyu didn't want the Skeleton King to suffer harm with him. Letting Skeleton King go back is to let them share the damage better. When the flame comes, the blessing of the Great Avenue immediately comes into play. The damage was greatly reduced. According to Lin Moyu, it was reduced by at least 50%. The immortal golden body offset another 10% of the damage. The remaining 40% of the damage is doubled by talent and damage transfer. When it finally fell into the undead army, its power was no longer very strong, and it was basically about to fall into the category of Chinzan. Legion leaders inherit the healing abilities of legion rulers, and each legion leader can heal his own troops. The speed of treatment is slightly slower than the speed of damage, but today's undead are so thick-skinned that they cannot be killed in a matter of seconds. Lin Moyu felt that he could stand in this flame for a long time. It would not be a problem for a few days and nights. Even if he dies, once the new talent comes, he can stand for several days and nights. Lin Moyu stood in the elixir fire as steadily as a mountain, letting the elixir fire scorch him without being moved at all. Feden Chinzan was stunned. He knew how powerful his alchemy fire was. Even if a low-level Chinzan stood in the fire, he would not be able to hold on for long. How could a high-level supreme person like Lin Moyu stand inside and regard the Dan fire as if it were nothing? He really wanted to ask, "How did you do it?" Lin Moyu stood in the elixir fire for a while, then looked over at the right time. "Is there any senior left?" Feden Chinzan was stunned for a moment and shouted in a low voice, "Also, be careful. Originally I didn't want to use this second move because I couldn't control it well." Feden Chinzan was about to take action when he suddenly stopped. "Forget it, no need, in case of an accident." Lin Moyu shook his head and said, "It's okay, just use it. He has fresh talent and is not in danger." Feden Chinzan said in a deep voice, "This move is an attack on the soul, and it is really dangerous." Lin Mo said, "Senior, feel free to take action, don't worry." Lin Moyu knew that only by letting him use it would it be easier to talk later. Seeing Lin Moyu's persistence, Feden Chinzan also made a decision and started to take action. He began to draw the runes again, slowly. The drawing this time was a 5th-level ancient talisman. As Feden Tianzuan said, his drawing was very poor, even a little reluctant. Lin Moyu looked at his slightly clumsy movements and wished he could do it himself. This ancient talisman is related to the soul, and combined with the elixir fire, it can attack the soul. During the attack, the elixir fire changes from real to virtual, and at the same time it will bring powerful erysipelas, polluting other people's souls. Once you can't bear it, you will be severely injured and find it difficult to make progress for life. In severe cases, the person's soul will be shattered on the spot and disappear into ashes. In Lin Moyu's eyes, Feden Tianzuan's ancient talisman was only a little over 50% complete, which was barely qualified. If it's any worse, the ancient talisman will collapse on the spot. Finally, the ancient talisman was completed, but Feden Tianzuan did not use it immediately. He still hesitated, otherwise, let's forget it. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "It doesn't matter, senior, feel free to come." Feden Tianzuan sighed, activated the ancient talisman, and shouted softly, "Elixir fire soul refining." In an instant, the elixir fire turned from real to virtual, turning into invisible power and rushing towards Lin Moyu's world of rules. The power of virtuality also failed to escape the weakening of Dao Blessing, and its power was directly reduced by 50%. After being weakened, the power of the void still has powerful attacks. It turns into a pill outside the rules world. The stove was knocked over abruptly. The world of rules roared incessantly during the impact. Lin Moyu's world of rules was very strong, and also had the power of virtuality and reality, and could completely block incoming attacks. However, Lin Moyu did not do this. Instead, after 2 symbolic blocks, he let go of the world of rules and let it in. The soul held the scepter of disaster and rushed forward excitedly. The power of virtual evolution alchemy furnace rushed into the world of rules. It locked Lin Moyu's soul and spewed out infinite flames with strong erysipelas, as if it was about to refine the soul. Lin Moyu held up the natural disaster scepter and knocked out the flames with 2 bangs. Then the 3rd time, it hit the alchemy furnace directly. The natural disaster scepter doesn't care whether you are real or fake, it's always accurate. The alchemy furnace was blown to pieces on the spot, and the flames inside also died out. When the alchemy furnace was broken, Feden Tianzuan's body trembled violently. His eyes were so round and big that they almost fell out, staring at Lin Moyu. "How did you do it?" He instinctively asked this question that he shouldn't ask. Lin Moyu smiled and did not answer. "Senior, are you still satisfied?" Feden Tianzuan reacted and showed a wry smile. He waved his big hand and made a few hand seals. The flames in the sky immediately dispersed and returned to the alchemy furnace. The sky became clear, and Feden Tianzuan said, "What I can do, little friend, is beyond my imagination." Lin Moyu was very modest. The younger generation is just lucky and has received some legacy from the seniors. He cannot enter the elegant hall. Feden Tianzuan seems to think that this should be the case. After all, it is incredible that a high-level supreme person can be as strong as this. He sighed, "The 6th-level world is incomparable to us, and we cannot be defeated unjustly." Lin Mo said, "I'm lucky, but my senior's ability to refine elixirs and control fire is surprising." "Senior, what did you draw before?" "It looks very deep." Lin Moyu pretended that he didn't know anything about runes and carefully asked his question. Feden Tianzuan was very pleased with Lin Moyu now, and said cheerfully, "Those are called runes. I am an alchemist. I was very interested in runes after refining mortals, so I studied them. But I didn't learn well and my level is not very high." Lin Moyu asked, "Are runes very powerful?" Feden Tianzuan said, "It's very powerful. One talisman can explain the truth of the world. Some people rely on the talisman to achieve the great truth. Those who learn runes are called talisman masters. Talisman masters have a very high status on the origin continent. If you go to the origin continent like this in the future, you can learn it 10 times. With my little friend's talent, I feel that I will definitely become a powerful talisman master in the future. Feden Tianzuan was too polite and upright, and Lin Moyu felt a little embarrassed. How about let the two worlds collide? Fifan Tianzuan's face changed slightly, and he said seriously, "My little friend, when you say that, you look down on me too much. Am I the kind of person who goes back on his word? Isn't it just a world? If you lose the world war, you lose. I haven't lost anything. On the contrary, being able to get to know someone like my little friend makes me feel like an old friend at first sight. When my little friend comes to the origin continent in the future, he must come to the Dan Wang sect. Okay, I keep my word, this world belongs to Xiaofa. When you come to the origin continent in the future, remember to come find me." After saying that, Feden Tianzuan opened the world barrier and turned around to leave. Lin Moyu clasped his fists. "Take care." Feden Tianzuan waved his hand and left gracefully. Seeing Feden Tianzuan leaving, Lin Moyu felt a little sorry. He might not be as aboveboard as he thought. But there is no way, he has a lot on his shoulders, and some things have to be done. The world-burning fire ignited, exploded on the spot, and swept the entire world. He started refining the Feden realm, and became more comfortable than refining the Yang Ming realm before. The characteristic of the world-burning fire is that the more worlds are refined, the stronger the world-burning fire is. The process of refining is the process of the growth of world-burning fire. Only 1 hour after the boundary sea time, Feden realm has been refined. One side of the world has become a world-class source crystal, a world-class source crystal that is much stronger than ordinary fifth-order source crystals. Lin Moyu returned to the Great World, went straight to the origin of the Great World, and threw 2 world-class origin crystals to the origin of the Great World. This time even refining was omitted, and the Great World origin directly absorbed 2 world-class origin crystals. Lin Moyu could clearly feel that the origin of the world was growing rapidly, heading towards the 7th level. Once the origin reaches the 7th level, the big world will be elevated to the 7th level world. For many deities engaged in world war, once the world reaches the 7th level, it's time for them to harvest. But Lin Moyu had other ideas. He wanted to cultivate the world to the 9th level. After the big world absorbed a large amount of origin, it began to feed back part of the origin's power to Lin Moyu. These original powers all come from the big world and have the imprint of the big world. As a member of the big world, and as Lin Moyu who has taken the divine path to become a supreme being in the big world, absorbing these original powers is as simple as eating and drinking water. His realm began to improve rapidly, and various insights came to him again, making Lin Moyu's understanding of the power of the void deeper and deeper. Lin Moyu has become obsessed with this feeling. He doesn't need a room to understand and practice. As long as he provides the source to the big world and then accepts the feedback from the big world, he can improve his realm and continuously improve his understanding. This time there are 2 fifth-order world-class origin crystals, and the Great World feeds back more origins than before. Lin Moyu's realm was rapidly improving, moving from high-level supreme to peak supreme. This level cannot stop Lin Moyu at all. With his accumulation and foundation, even becoming a Li Tianzuan is more than enough. In the realization of the power of the void, Lin Moyu unknowingly reached the pinnacle of supremacy. Tens of days later, Lin Moyu came back to his senses. Lin Moyu showed a smile. The gap between the peak supreme and the peak supreme is not that big. From this point of view, the gap between the Tianzans will be even greater. No wonder Chingling Tianzuan felt that he could fight against hundreds of skeleton kings before. It seems that it is not without purpose. Only when he reached the peak of supreme power did he truly see how special this realm was. Peak supreme is the only way to reach Tianzuan, and this road is very long. Those who have just set foot on this road, those who are halfway through, and those who are almost at the end. Although they are both called peak supreme, there is a huge gap in their strength. Moreover, after reaching the heavenly realm, the gap in combat power at each level will be further widened. So when he saw hundreds of skeleton kings before, Chingling Tianzuan felt that he was not incapable of fighting. If the realm continues to improve, the gap will be even greater. Lin Moyu has now reached the peak of Supreme, but there is still some way to go before reaching the realm of heaven. He also wants to obtain more origins, advance the world, and get feedback. He has been tied to the big world and does not want to use other sources to improve his realm. It's hard to find world-class origins, but I can integrate some more 7th level origins and let the big world devour and improve them. In this way, it shouldn't be too slow for me to break through Chinzan. Lin Moyu thought in his heart that he already had an idea. The corner of his mouth raised slightly, but before that, we must first make preparations and integrate all the techniques into the 7th level origin to lay a good foundation. The fog gradually dissipated, and the boundary sea that had been shrouded in fog for many days appeared completely and clearly in sight again. The sky is still so dark, and the water in the boundary sea is still surging there. The previous 3 worlds were like 3 passers-by, leaving no trace. This world is so cruel, and few people remember what happened in the past. No matter how glorious it once was, once it becomes history, it will never appear again. Lin Moyu was very happy that the big world finally got through the most difficult level and survived. Surviving a catastrophe will bring blessings. Lin Moyu believes that the world will have a bright future. The fog cleared, and Shui Ji Tianzuan floated up. Boy, give it back to me. Lin Moyu threw the treasure of the world over. Thank you, Senior. The property will be returned to its original owner. Then he took out 10 jars of fine wine and gave the milk to Shueiji Tianzuan. Shueiji Tianzuan took the wine without any courtesy. You kid, why are you so generous this time? Lin Moyu smiled and said, look at what you said. When have I ever been stingy? Shueiji Tianzuan snorted, that's true. Over the years, even though it was always given from 1 altar to 2 altars, Lin Moyu would not refuse as long as Shueiji Tianzuan opened his mouth. In the past few years, Shueiji Tianzuan drank the most. Lin Moyu asked, Senior, will another world hit you next? Shueiji Tianzuan looked at him. What are you thinking? You think other Tianzuan are fools. Others have already seen what you did to deal with those worlds. Even if you haven't seen it, you can still use various secret methods. Sensed. Those guys are all human beings. They have already changed directions and will not collide with you. I can tell you with certainty that everyone in this sea will avoid you. Lin Moyu had expected this for a long time, and being able to use the mist to deceive a few more worlds was already the best result. He sighed softly, this is too heavy to be helped. It seems that it is really not easy to upgrade the big world to the 7th level. Without other worlds to come to him, he could only fuse the original crystals himself and provide them to the big world. The efficiency is naturally no better than absorbing other worlds. But now, it is also a helpless move. Shueiji Tianzuan snorted, are you dreaming about a 7th level world? How many people can raise the world to 7th level? Even if you can, how long will it take? Don't swallow a few pieces of the origin of the world and start daydreaming. In addition to sufficient origin, the 7th order world has other requirements. Are there any heavenly lords in the world? How many heavenly lords are there? Among these Tianzuan, is there anyone who has reached a high level? This was the first time Lin Moyu heard this statement and couldn't help but ask, can you elaborate on it? Shueiji Tianzuan said lazily, Old turtle, I'm thirsty. If you are thirsty, drink water. The water in the boundary sea will surely kill you. What's more, didn't I just give you 10 altars, 100,000 caddies, and turn around and deny it? Lin Mo slandered, but he was honest and took out a jar of wine for Shueiji Tianzuan. Shueiji Tianzuan said with satisfaction, the 7th order world is also called the high order world because the 7th order origin appears in it, and it is a world-class 7th order origin, and its value is beyond words. Many heavenly masters who have reached their limit can use their world-class 7th level origins to be promoted to Dao Masters. If you are not at the extreme level of Tianzuan, you can still advance to a higher level. If your family is rich enough, you can absorb a few more 7th level basic fists and directly transform from a low-level Tianzuan to a Taoist. Don't doubt it, someone has done it. Lin Moyu was not surprised. The origin continent was so big, with various forces entrenched in it, and some of the powerful sects had inherited it for who knows how many years. It might not be that difficult to take out a few pieces of seventh-order origin. Shueiji Tianzuan first talked about the purpose of the world-level 7th-level source, and then started to talk about how to advance the world to a higher level. Every promotion in the world does not come casually. In addition to the original power, it also requires the cooperation of internal forces. If you want to advance from the 4th level to the 5th level, there must be a heavenly lord in the world. To advance from the 5th level to the 6th level, at least 5 heavenly lords must appear in the world. To advance from the 6th level to the 7th level, at least 15 deities are needed. However, this is not a forced condition. There are some treasures that can ignore these conditions and directly upgrade the world to a higher level. Everything has its positive and negative sides, yin and yang. World promotion is not just about the power of the source, but also requires the combination of internal and external. Of course, the heavenly lord does not have to come from within the world, the master of the world can also do so. For example, if a mid-level heavenly lord like Lei Jie is promoted to the 6th level in the world, he will be promoted to the 6th level. In order to make the world develop towards the 7th level, he will inevitably work towards the peak of heaven, and at the same time, he will also strengthen his control over the world. Shueiji Tianzuan drank wine, a look of thought appeared in his eyes, and his tone became like an old god. Actually, those people who cultivate the world of Jiehai, in addition to the world war, there is also an unimaginable danger. There once was a high-level Tianzuan. He worked hard to cultivate his world to the highest level. When he wanted to harvest his origin, a peak heavenly lord in that world was suddenly promoted to a Taoist lord. Then the Taoist master turned against the guest and killed him. Lin Moyu's story felt like she couldn't laugh or cry. How happy it is for a heavenly lord to finally cultivate his own world to the 7th level. Then as long as you get the world-class 7th level origin, and wait until you reach the peak of Tianzuan, you can hope to be promoted to Dao Zun. As a result, he did not receive any harvest but was killed by Dao Zuankong in his own world. Who can I ask to reason with this? Lin Mo said, it seems that an incredible genius has appeared in his world, and he has reached Taoism through his own efforts. Shueiji Tianzuan laughed loudly. A ghost can become a Taoist through his own efforts, you know nothing. That guy was originally a peak heavenly lord. When the world was promoted to the 7th level, he secretly stole some origins and reluctantly became a Taoist lord. And he is not a real Taoist, he can only be regarded as a fake Taoist. The fake Taoist master is also a Taoist master, which is enough for him to complete the counterattack. But then again, that Tianzuan himself was too careless. As long as he is careful, he can counterattack. Lin Moyu nodded, it is true. The Lord of the World does have the ability to control life and death over his own world and the creatures in it. The Lord of the World is actually the sky of the Jiehai world, and controls the life and death of countless creatures in the world. As long as he is careful enough, the other party has no chance to counterattack. Shueiji Tianzuan said, so, after this, the lord of each world will be extremely careful about his own world. Once such a heaven-defying genius appears in the world, he will definitely control him tightly or directly kill him. Lin Mo said, it is estimated that most people will choose to kill the talented person directly. Shueiji Tianzuan nodded, yes, most people do this. They do not allow people who are higher than themselves to appear in the world. Practitioners are all selfish, and killing is as natural to them as breathing. Any genius, as long as he is a threat to himself, kill him immediately. Any Tianzuan has an extremely strong Taoist heart and will not have any feelings of pity or sympathy. All they pursue is the Tao. Lin Mo said, I know what you mean. I will not be overly sympathetic. I will kill those who deserve to be killed. Shueiji Tianzuan said so much, just to remind Lin Moyu to be careful. After all, he is in the Boundary Sea now, and the time in the Boundary Sea is too different from the time in the world. His realm has not improved much, and the realm of refiners in the world is already very high. Once you surpass him, you may counterattack. Lin Mo said, I will reach Chinzan as soon as possible and become the lord of the world, but I have a bold idea. Shueiji Chinzan looked very interested. Tell me, Baiduo is bold. Lin Moyu was indeed very bold, and what he said next shocked Shueiji Chinzan. Shueiji Chinzan didn't even bother to drink anymore. He opened his mouth wide and stretched his neck to look at Lin Moyu blankly. You said, you want to cultivate the world to the 9th level? Lin Moyu said with a smile. What's not allowed? Shueiji Chinzan threw his head into the Jiehai, letting the cold Jiehai wake up for him, and then shouted loudly, I think you are crazy. Lin Moyu smiled and said, I also said that this is just a bold idea of mine. Although it is bold, it is not crazy. Shueiji Chinzan snorted, you know nothing. Do you know why those Tianzans are so anxious to start collecting the source after cultivating the world to the 7th level? Shueiji Chinzan revealed another secret, which was also an unwritten rule. Once the world reaches the 7th level, its original power will become extremely powerful, and its original breath will spread far away. If it is not collected in time, this original aura will attract the attention of countless people. It won't be long before the news gets out, and then it's time for Taoist Master to arrive. Shueiji Chinzan said, Dao Zun is coming, can you stop it? There will be more than 1 or 2 coming, there will be many, 7th level origin, enough for Dao Zun to take action. Lin Moyu fell into silence. It seems that I didn't think enough about it. It's not that he lacked consideration, but that he didn't know that such a thing would happen. Shueiji Chinzan took a big sip of wine and said, so, the world war will end at the 7th level. Don't think about unrealistic things. Lin Moyu thought, it seems that if you want to cultivate the world to the 9th level, you can't do it in the Boundary Sea world. Senior, if I integrate the world of the sea with my world of rules, do you think it's feasible? Shueiji Chinzan spat out a mouthful of wine and widened his eyes. After talking so much, you still don't want to give up? Lin Moyu chuckled, let's just discuss it. Just tell me, is that okay? Stop talking and let me think. 20. Shueiji Chinzan tilted his head, drank wine in sips, and kept thinking. In his long life, he searched for and thought about the possibility that Lin Moyu said in countless memories. A jar of 10,000 kilograms of aged wine is about to bottom out. Shueiji Chinzan finally said, it's not impossible. Someone has indeed done this before. But at that time, his Boundary Sea world was only at the 4th level. That guy really integrated the world of Jiehai into the world of rules, and then took the initiative to end his world war and withdraw from Yuan Hai. Afterwards, some people imitated him, but most of them did not succeed. Judging from the news I received later, if you want to integrate the world of Jiehai into the world of rules, and still retain the origin of the world of Jiehai, several conditions need to be met. Shueiji Chinzan rummaged through the boxes and cabinets, and finally dug out the old memories. World integration does not mean that it is as simple as moving the creatures and resources from the Boundary Sea world. It is about bringing the two worlds together and being dominated by rules. The prerequisite is that the two worlds need to be extremely similar. Secondly, the instinctive consciousness of the Boundary Sea world cannot resist. Finally, the world of rules must be strong enough, otherwise it cannot carry the world of Boundary Sea. None of the conditions are easy to achieve. The prerequisites alone can stump a large number of people. The world of rules is very similar to the world of Boundary Sea, which can confuse many people. When changing from the origin world to the Boundary Sea world, although it can be affected by the Master's will, some things will not change. At that time, Chinzan's world of rules had long been finalized. The last condition is not easy, unless the world of Boundary Sea is still very weak. When the world of Jiehai is strong enough and reaches the 5th and 6th levels, Chinzan's rule world will not be able to accommodate the world of Jiehai, and it will not be able to integrate. Shueiji Chinzan chuckled and said, "You must be dumbfounded, you know how difficult this is. So, stop daydreaming, practice honestly, raise the world of Jihai to the 7th level, and then collect the source, that's it. As for the creatures in the world of Jihai, if you are not willing to kill them, you can pack them away and let them live in your world of rules. You can also go to the origin continent to find a place and settle them down. After 1800 years, they will be able to adapt. Lin Moyu turned a deaf ear to Shueiji Tianzuan's words. He had been thinking about the possibility of taking Jihai world away. My rule world is built based on the big world as a template, and it is very similar to the big world. This is not a problem. The current instinctive will of the big world is very close to me, so it shouldn't be a problem. After all, I don't want to destroy it, just move it to another place. It's much better than harvesting the source. It's about the strength of the world of rules. My world of rules is not strong enough. It should not be able to absorb the big world. It seems that the next step is to strengthen my world of rules and improve my realm. Seeing that Lin Moyu remained silent, Shueiji Tianzuan couldn't help but ask, "Hey, what are you thinking about?" Lin Moyu's eyes gradually showed a firm luster, and Shueiji Tianzuan felt a little bit in his heart, and had a bad premonition. "Hey, you kid, don't make random decisions. You have a great future. Don't ruin it like this." Lin Moyu shook his head gently. "A senior once said to me that some roads are destined to be difficult, but they are the strongest roads. If you want to become a truly strong person, you must embark on this difficult road. I don't want to follow the same path as others. I want to be the strongest. This is also my Taoist heart." Shueiji Tianzuan felt Lin Moyu's Taoist heart, and for a moment he was unable to refute. The strongest path, this sounds reasonable. Who said that? Lin Moyu smiled and said, "I met a senior at the beginning of my cultivation. He is a good friend of mine." Shueiji Tianzuan was a little skeptical. At the beginning of training? How strong is he? It should be Dao Zun. Shueiji Tianzuan was startled. "You knew Taoist master at the beginning of your cultivation? There is Taoism in your world? This is impossible." Lin Mo said, "A few years ago, there was a very small world that was separated from the world of the Boundary Sea. I don't know if you have seen it." Shueiji Tianzuan tilted his head, obviously not impressed. Lin Moyu reminded again, "When Dojia came over, my friend once served." Shueiji Tianzuan was still not impressed. This also shows that Antares' attack method is very advanced and cannot be hidden from the eyes of Shueiji Tianzuan. Shueiji Tianzuan looked at Lin Moyu with a suspicious look, as if asking, "Is what you said true or false?" Lin Moyu thought for a while. "Follow me." He flew in the opposite direction of the big world. It had been a long time since he left his small world, and the big world had also sailed a long distance away. As Lin Moyu's strength increased, his connection with the big world also strengthened, and the distance he could maintain had reached 400,000 meters. Lin Moyu flew to the limit of 400,000 meters and pointed towards the distance under Shueiji Tianzuan's puzzled eyes. The law of time surges forward, a long river appears vaguely, and time goes back to the evening. Time travel? How can you use time travel? Shueiji Tianzuan's eyes widened again. He felt that he was more shocked by Lin Moyu than he had ever been in his entire life. Lin Mo said, "I know the law of time. Isn't it normal to use time to go back? It is true that the law of time can be used in the Boundary Sea, but it will be affected, and the time back cannot be as far back as in the big world. But going back 8 or 10 years is not a big problem." Shueiji Tianzuan shook his head. "No, I mean, there is also the law of time in your Jihai world?" Lin Moyu nodded, "Yes." Shueiji Tianzuan said, "Even if there are laws of time, how about the laws of space?" After getting Lin Moyu's affirmative answer, Shueiji Tianzuan's eyes were even more surprised. "My dear, your world of Jihai has a very strong foundation. The Jihai world all evolved from the origin realm. The strength of the origin realm determines the foundation of the Jihai world to a certain extent. Although the world of Boundary Sea can swallow up the origins of other worlds in the process of growth, it can continuously strengthen and improve itself. But sometimes, the foundation is difficult to change. The worlds that the big world swallowed before, such as the Demon Tiger Realm, the Chingling Realm, and the Do Realm, did not have the laws of time and space in them. Shueiji Tianzuan said, the laws of time and space are two kinds of great laws. They are not found in every Boundary Sea world. If there is usually only one of them, or the laws are incomplete. Your Jihai world is indeed very strong and very good. Lin Moyu smiled and said, I also messed up the world quite well. Looking back in time, the long river of time casts large tracts of light and shadow, showing what happened in the past. In the area shrouded in light and shadow, a small world suddenly appeared. Shueiji Tianzuan's eyes widened. It really does exist. Why haven't I seen it before? That world was very small, less than 1/10,000th of the big world. It was just a tiny thing. However, Shueiji Tianzuan governs this water area and has feelings for everything in this water area. The appearance of a world, no matter how small, he would not miss. But this time, he missed it. Suddenly, Shueiji Tianzuan's expression changed drastically. Be careful. Its entire body shrank instantly, using its thick turtle shell to protect itself and Lin Moyu at the same time. A force of time and space came towards him and hit Shueiji Tianzuan heavily. There was a strong rupture in time and space, and large cracks appeared in Shueiji Tianzuan's extremely hard turtle shell in an instant. Under the bombardment of the power of time and space, the turtle shell was divided into countless areas. Each area unit entered a different time and space for a moment, and was cut using the power of time and space. Everything happened so fast that before Lin Moyu could react, Shueiji Tianzuan had already withstood a wave of attacks. The time rewind stopped instantly, and the light and shadow disappeared. Shueiji Tianzuan gasped, eyes frightened. Almost, the old turtle's life is at stake here. Lin Moyu also didn't expect that things would develop in this way. Just as he was about to say something, Shueiji Tianzuan shouted again, stop talking and leave first. He was already scared and left here with Lin Ji immediately. Until he returned to the big world, Shueiji Tianzuan still had lingering fears. What kind of ghost is that world you mentioned? How could there be such a terrifying existence? Lin Moyu was a little apologetic. I don't know either. When I was in the big world before, I was indeed attacked by the power of time and space, but this time it was just a time regression. And I still don't understand what's going on. Can you tell me about it? Shueiji Tianzuan said, I scared the old turtle to death just now. You have to make it up to me. Understood. Lin Moyu said nothing, waving and throwing out 2 jars of aged wine. Shueiji Tianzuan opened his mouth and drank 1,000 kilograms to calm his shock. According to what you said, that small world was forcibly separated from the world of Jihai. Do you know what kind of person can possess this kind of ability? And he can attack directly from time retrieval through timestamps. This kind of existence is so terrifying. Lin Moyu's first thought was not in Terry's. He thought of the old man in green robe. Maybe only he has this ability. Lin Moyu was very curious about the realm of the old man in green robes. He could scare Antares into hiding, and he could also use the time mark to launch a direct attack, almost killing Shueiji Tianzuan. Lin Moyu said, I have met him for Zixiang. Shut up. Shueiji Tianzuan shouted, don't say anything, don't say anything. I don't want to know everything about him. Don't tell me his name or what he looks like. Don't even think about this kind of existence. As long as you think about it, you may be sensed by him. If you mention his name, he might come to you in a minute and slap you to death. Lin Moyu burst into laughter. It's not that scary. I also talked to him, and he even invited me to drink a cup of tea. Shueiji Tianzuan groaned. You are definitely not joking. That kind of existence chats with you and invites you to drink tea. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, yes. Shueiji Tianzuan was completely speechless. Your life is too good, you can see such a person. It seems that your destiny is destined to be extraordinary. Boy, this kind of existence will not meet people casually, let alone drink tea. They are high above, looking down at the world. Those people's fight for power seems as ridiculous to them as a game. It's like the World War in the Sea of World. The gods are fighting for the world-class 7th level origin that everyone wants. In the eyes of that kind of existence, they are nothing. Lin Moyu asked, then what are they pursuing? Shueiji Tianzuan said, how would I know? I'm not them. Only when you reach that state can you understand. But since he can chat with you and invite you to drink tea, he probably thinks you have a chance. Lin Moyu's heart moved. You mean, I have a chance to become a being like him? Shueiji Tianzuan chuckled, you are overthinking. What I mean is that maybe you have a chance to become his disciple. Don't doubt what Old Turtle said, you will know when you go to the origin continent. Lin Moyu nodded, okay, but it's still early to go to the origin continent. We can't touch other boundary sea worlds now. It will take a long time for the big world to reach the 7th level. And my cultivation is far from enough. Without a 3.0 high-level Tianzuan, it is not enough to advance the world. Shueiji Tianzuan said, I want to tell you about this. If you want to improve the level of the big world in Jiehai, there is not only the Jiehai dispute, but also other methods. Lin Moyu immediately pricked up his ears and listened attentively. Shueiji Tianzuan said, after some time, the king will issue a Jiehai order. Each Jiehai world in each region can send representatives to carry out the tasks assigned by the king. As long as the task can be completed, and if you achieve good results, the king will give you rewards. The rewards are generally those broken worlds that failed in the World War. These worlds can be directly used to refine and absorb them to enhance their own worlds. There are only 2 or 3 people in my area who are qualified to participate, and you are one of them. I don't need to be careful about the specifics. You will know when the time comes. Shueiji Tianzuan did not elaborate on what the Jiehai order was, because even he did not know the specific content in it. All those who participate in the Jiehai order will follow the orders of the king of Jiehai and perform some special tasks. Everyone who participates in the Jiehai order will keep this confidential. According to Shueiji Tianzuan, the Jiehai order has been issued many times, and countless people have participated. Every time people participate, they are recommended by water area administrators like him. Generally, there are about 3 to 5 people in each water area. If the people you recommend achieve good results, they will also receive rewards. Lin Moyu felt that the king's decree on the world sea had a certain meaning. What the specific meaning is unknown. But every time people go, they basically come back alive, with only a few injuries at most, so don't worry too much. What Shueiji Tianzuan said is very true. If it is very dangerous, he will not let himself do it. The two have known each other for several years, and before they knew it, Shueiji Tianzuan had already regarded Lin Moyu as a friend. Lin Moyu once again devoted himself to the life of hunting strange fish. Now his strength has greatly increased, and the speed of obtaining the origin is much faster than before. At the current rate, it takes an average of 200 days in the world of Jiehai to obtain a copy of the materials needed for the source. Lin Moyu wanted to integrate all 05 spells into the 7th level origin. He calculated that there were 11 spells in total, including 3 spells that had been integrated into the 5th level origin. Even if each fusion of the 7th order source is successful, it still requires 2,200 world sea days. For the big world, it is a full 60,000 years. This is a long time. 60,000 years later, the Heavenly Lord should have been born in the big world, and there may be more than one. But Lin Moyu didn't care. As long as it didn't harm his own interests, Lin Moyu wouldn't care about them. He has his own things to do, and his goal is far beyond Tianzuan. He must lay a solid foundation. Yuqing and Yuzhu gradually adapted to the rules of the Boundary Sea, and they were already preparing to step into the other side of the Boundary Sea. Lin Moyu prepared the source crystal for them. When they step into the other side, they can integrate the power of the source, which can make the foundation more solid and open up the way to build a rules world in the future. Based on his own experience and the advice of the old turtle Shueiji Tianzuan, Lin Moyu planned to let the two of them leave the big world directly. From then on, he became a creature of the original continent and separated from the relationship with the big world. This will be beneficial to their future development. Anyway, as long as I am here, the sources they need for cultivation in the future will not be a problem at all, and they do not need to rely on the sources of the big world. Time passed day by day, and Lin Moyu's next life was simple and fulfilling. It was as if there was no end to the strange fish shoals in the Boundary Sea, killing only one batch after another. The Boundary Sea is filled with the power of the source, and the power of the source will evolve into a large number of fish schools. As long as the power of the source is not exhausted for one day, the fish schools will not become extinct. Lin Moyu can now stay 400,000 meters away from the big world, and is still 100,000 meters away from the extremely dangerous area Shueiji Tianzuan said. I tried to let Skeleton King enter it to explore, but once the area exceeded 500,000 meters, Skeleton King lost contact with himself. That feeling is like entering another world. After Lin Moyu tried several times, he had no choice but to give up. It was not a place that he could explore yet. Shueiji Tianzuan almost couldn't get out even after entering. Although Lin Moyu was confident in his own strength, he was not blind yet. Time passed day by day, and in the blink of an eye it was more than 500 days. As far as the world is concerned, more than 15,000 years have passed. Lin Moyu went back several times during this period and found that the changes in the human world were not big. Hao Jizuan, Tian Jizuan, and Zhan Jizuan finally took another step forward and reached the intermediate level of Supreme. However, geniuses continue to emerge in the human race, and more geniuses are catching up. Nowadays, a large number of newly promoted saints have appeared in the human race, and there are more than 100 Supreme ones. The former mid-level Supreme being was already close to the peak Supreme being after 15,000 years. These people lived in a good era and had a more solid foundation, so it was natural for them to surpass Hao Jizuan and others. This is a manifestation of the prosperity of the world, which should be a good thing. Unfortunately, strong power makes them greedy for power. Greed becomes more obvious as strength grows. They express time and again that they hoped that the Emperor would hand over control. However, the forces headed by Heavenly Supreme Hao Supreme did not agree. The two Supreme Beings would not sit still and wait for death. They also secretly cultivated batches of geniuses to supplement their own strength and compete with them. Today's big world is no longer as united as it used to be. Lin Moyu didn't alert anyone when he returned, but went directly to the Human Emperor. The Human Emperor has two Tianzuan realm resurrectors in his hands. Once something happens, he can suppress it and it won't be a problem for the time being. For more than 500 days, Lin Moyu collected a large number of origin crystals, but was unable to fuse them. Since the previous forcible fusion of spells, infinite fusion, has once again ceased its activities and entered a dormant state. It has not yet awakened. In this state, it is impossible to fuse the original crystal. Lin Moyu didn't know how to speed up the recovery of infinite fusion. The soul power provided by the world tree seemed to have little effect. After thinking about it, only high-level spiritual materials will be effective. But high-level spiritual materials are not easy to find. He has asked Shueiji Tianzuan to find them, but there has been no news. Now Lin Moyu can only collect low-level source crystals first, and then recover through infinite fusion while sleeping. 600 days later, Lin Moyu gathered together the materials needed for the third level 7 origin. Infinite fusion is still the same, still sleeping. Shueiji Tianzuan swam out of the water with the smell of alcohol all over his body. Lin Moyu asked, "Senior, how's it going?" Shueiji Tianzuan shook his head. "I asked the governors of several nearby sea areas, and none of them have high-level spiritual materials." Lin Moyu's eyes were slightly disappointed. It seemed that high-level spiritual materials were difficult to find. 623. Shueiji Tianzuan changed the subject, "But I heard about another thing. This time the Jihai order will be released soon. It is said that high-level spiritual materials may appear there. You wait a little longer. If it doesn't work, you can ask the king. The king must have it in his hands. As long as you get good results, you may be able to get another one. Lin Moyu nodded. How long will it take for the Jiahai order to come out? Shueiji Tianzuan said, the time when the Jiahai order appears is not fixed. It usually appears every 800 to 1,000 years. The last time it appeared was 898 years ago. Lin Moyu nodded. I will sell it again. 6. Lin Moyu replied casually, bring it to make wine. Shueiji Tianzuan snorted, get out. If you don't want to say that you are in the same room, don't say it. Lin Moyu laughed and threw 2 jars of wine to him. Only then did Shueiji Tianzuan walk away with satisfaction. The hunting continued. Lin Moyu never stopped and never slacked off. More than 100 days later, suddenly there was a strange smell coming from afar, like strips of light, along the dark clouds in the sky, covering a large area of the sea. Beams of light fell from the sky and shone into the boundary sea, illuminating the boundary sea brightly. For a moment, Lin Moyu had the illusion of seeing the sun through the clouds. Shueiji Tianzuan came back immediately. Get ready, Yin Hailing is coming soon. The light belt is a harbinger of the coming of the boundary sea order. When the light belt covers the entire boundary sea, the boundary sea order will arrive. At that time, some wonderful things will happen in the entire world sea. Lin Moyu didn't need any preparation. He let Yu Qingqing and Yu Zhu return to their own world of rules, and at the same time took back all the undead legions. Lin Moyu asked, what exactly is the original Hailing? Shueiji Tianzuan said, I heard that the Jiahai Ling was a super powerful treasure of the world before it became the Jiahai Ling. I don't know where the king got it from. It can be used to control various worlds. The king refined it, merged it with his own supreme power, and finally turned it into the Jiahai order. Just watch it, it will definitely surprise you. Lin Moyu nodded and watched quietly. From the light bands that filled the sky, Lin Moyu could feel a powerful and terrifying force. People who cast light belts possess supreme power and are extremely terrifying. This huge gap in power levels will give people a sense of powerlessness. Is this the king of the realm sea? He is really strong. Lin Moyu sighed in his heart. However, compared with the existence in the small world, the king in the boundary sea is far behind Yi Ping. The light belt quickly covered the entire boundary sea, and then, beams of light fell down, landing accurately in the boundary sea world. For a moment, everything was calm. The world in the boundary sea stopped moving, and the boundary sea stopped rolling, as if time had stood still. Immediately afterwards, a huge token emerged from the light. The token looked very simple, with a strange pattern carved on it, which Lin Moyu had never seen before. This is the Jiahai order, Shueiji Tianzuan said in a low voice. Lin Moyu nodded slightly and looked at Jia Hailing without blinking. When the Jiahai order was revealed, an inexplicable powerful aura was revealed. This aura is majestic, powerful, and aloof. It gives the impression that the owner of the Jiahai order seems to be overlooking the entire Jiahai. Immediately afterwards, a thick voice sounded from the Sea Order. Since the appearance of the World Sea Order, the World War has been suspended. Those who obtain the Jiahai Order can activate the Jiahai Order within 1 day and go to the designated location. All persons with jurisdiction over waters shall be responsible for all matters in their own waters during the period when the Boundary Sea Order is in effect. The High Clan Army is dispatched to temporarily seal off the Boundary Sea until the Boundary Sea Order ends. During this period, all intruders will be killed without mercy. The last 3 words, kill without mercy, contain a faint murderous intention, which is frightening. At the same time, it also showed the domineering power of the king of Jiahai. During the period when the Jiahai order was activated, even if Taoist Master came over, he would give it a go and fight. Shueiji Tianzuan smiled and said, don't worry, after the Jiahai order is activated, the entire Jiahai will be like a hedgehog, and no one will dare to enter. A Taoist master once broke through forcefully, and then was killed by the king himself. But you still have to be careful about your world. So much time has passed in your world, and there are more and more powerful people in it. Your realm has never improved. If a heavenly lord is born inside. Now the pinnacle supreme person has appeared in the big world, and purely from a realm perspective, he is no weaker than Lin Moyu. If Chinzan appears, he might kill Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu smiled and said, "Don't worry, even if there is an intermediate heavenly lord, I will still kill him. I will deal with matters in the big world when I come back." Going from the pinnacle to the heaven is not an easy task. Moreover, the human emperor has the 2 resurrected heavenly lords he gave him, so there is no need to worry for the time being. Wait for him to come back and take a look at the situation. If it doesn't work, we can only kill him. Lin Moyu didn't want to kill the human race in the big world, but if it was really necessary, he wouldn't show mercy. He flew to the edge of the Jia Ling, stretched out his hand to hold it, and activated it at the same time. The Jia Ling bloomed and enveloped Lin Moyu, and then the space distorted, and the Jia Ling disappeared into the air with Lin Moyu. At the same time, in the huge World Sea, the masters of the world activated the World Sea Order and disappeared. They are all heavenly beings, beings of the lower, middle, and higher levels. Among them, the middle-level heavenly lords are the main ones, and the number of high-level heavenly lords is lower. On the contrary, the low-level heavenly lords are the fewest. Lin Moyu is the only one in the Supreme Realm. His existence is only one more than that of Dao Zun, because there is no Dao Zun. The space was distorted, and Lin Moyu felt that he had experienced a teleportation that was not recent. Lin Moyu can feel the transformation of inverted space through the laws of space. This also shows that the boundary sea is very vast, and I have only seen the tip of the iceberg of the boundary sea. After the transmission ended, the scene in front of him quickly restored, and Lin Moyu found himself in a huge square. The top of the square is very high, at least 10,000 meters. Above 10,000 meters is the boundary sea, which floats on it. The square was very dry, not a drop of water. An invisible force holds the water of the boundary sea firmly, preventing it from falling. There are countless huge stone pillars surrounding the square. The square is huge, and these stone pillars spread into the distance and are countless. The stone pillars are carved with lifelike pictures, which are fish, and there are all kinds of fish. In addition to fish, there are also shrimps, crabs, and other creatures. These are the creatures in the sea. There are countless creatures in the world sea. If they were all inscribed on these stone pillars, the scale would be truly astonishing. Lin Moyu walked among the stone pillars, and he saw many creatures from the Jihai Sea that he had never seen before. Waves of space fluctuations came, and people kept teleporting over, and the originally cold square became lively. Not only the human race came, but also many guys who were not human race. Although they transformed into human forms, they did not retain many of the characteristics of beasts. These people are demons, the same demons as the Thunder and Purple Tigers. There are also various clans in the Demon Clan. The more famous one is the Lion, Wolf, Tiger, and Leopard Clan. In addition, there are also the Bear Clan, the Elephant Clan, etc. Although the Demon Clan also has internal conflicts, it is still quite united when it comes to fighting back. After being teleported, they immediately hugged each other and got together. The same goes for the human race. Regardless of whether you recognize them or not, let's get together first. Lin Moyu looked at it and found that there seemed to be some hostility between the demon race and the human race, and the two races were not friendly. I don't know if it's an exception or if it's a racial phenomenon. In addition to internal conflicts, the human race also has external enemies, which is a bit complicated. Lin Moyu also walked over slowly, preparing to join the human team. His appearance immediately attracted everyone's attention. A member of the Demon Clan laughed loudly. "Is there no one left in your human race? There's the Supreme Being here." The other demon tribes immediately started shouting. It seems that the human race is really in trouble. There is not even a deity left. I really don't know which sea area this Supreme Being comes from. Are the humans in that sea area so miserable? Lin Mo, Wang Jiaohao, ignored them. Shuiji Tianzuan said that when the Jiahai order is in progress, you cannot take action without permission, otherwise you will be punished. If you can't take action, you can only have a war of words, which is meaningless. If it were outside, this guy would be killed directly. At this time, someone in the human race whispered, "We, the human race, have a supreme." This means that in that sea area, the gods of your demon race are not as good as the supreme of our human race. Even if you don't think about it, what is the concept of a supreme being who can become the master of the world? That's a super genius who doesn't play well. Is there any supreme among you Monster Clan who dares to come to the Battle of the Boundary Sea? And he will be selected to participate in the Boundary Sea Order. Are you close enough? When it comes to bickering, the human race is never afraid. What's more, they're right. What does it mean for the Supreme to come to Jiahai to participate in the World War? It means that this Supreme's background and strength are unusual. How dare an ordinary Supreme person come? When he comes, he just delivers food. There were no fools present, so they all realized this and greeted Lin Moyu one after another, without any airs of Tianzuan at all. Lu Feng Chamber of Commerce, Lu Feng Yao. Friendly. It seems that Lin Moyu is really believed to be a great talent with a strong background. Those great people in the human race have a very positive attitude toward Lin Moyu. Someone smiled and greeted Lin Moyu, "Come here quickly, little friend, to our side." "Don't worry, little friend. As long as we are here, those monsters won't dare to do anything to you." After all, when it comes to world battles in the Boundary Sea, it's basically all the heavenly lords. There are almost no supreme beings like Lin Moyu. This also means that Lin Moyu does have a profound background, and not everyone can obtain the Origin Realm. The most important thing is that Lin Moyu can be recommended by the governor of his own sea area to participate in the Boundary Sea Order. There are only two possibilities. First, there is no powerful world in that sea area. Lin Moju is just lucky. The second is that Lin Moyu is indeed very strong and has the ability to fight across borders. Although he is only the Pinnacle Supreme, his strength is comparable to that of the Heavenly Lord. Although such characters are rare, they have never appeared in Buyuan continent. Many people instinctively feel that Lin Moyu is the kind of genius with a profound background and extraordinary strength. Most of the Heavenly Lords in the human race are willing to show favor to such a genius. However, there are few people who can't stand someone like Lin Moyu. Jealousy will always exist no matter what level they reach. There are only a few people who can truly see clearly. Lin Moyu felt all kinds of gazes, and his extremely powerful spiritual sense allowed him to clearly distinguish the meaning of each gaze and label each person. Even if it's goodwill, it's just superficial. After all, no one knows him, so this is normal. If you are too enthusiastic, there will be problems. Just like the Demon Clan, some smart Demon Clan had already developed the intention to kill Lin Moyu. They don't want to see great talents appear in the human race. Especially those geniuses with deep backgrounds and rich resources make them even more unhappy. Their gazes also became sharp, as if they would take action against Lin Moyu at any time. Most monsters are not good at hiding their emotions, and their murderous intent can be easily sensed by others. Lin Moyu didn't care about the Demon Clan's gaze, and walked to the Human Clan side with his usual expression, unhurried and unhurried. His behavior made some people confirm Lin Moyu's identity. This kind of magnanimity cannot be faked by ordinary geniuses. Although he is supreme, it is no better than when Lin Moyu came in front of everyone, clasped his fists and saluted, "I have met all the seniors." He is polite, there was no arrogance at all, and the Heavenly Lords did not put on airs, and were very polite to Lin Moyu. A middle-level Heavenly Lord smiled brightly and said, "I don't know Xiaofa Gao's surname." Lin Moyu didn't hide anything, Junior Lin Moyu. "Your surname is Lin?" All of you have begun to think about whether there is any powerful family named Lin in the Origin continent, or in which large sect the genius brother named Lin is, a faff, a genius. The origin continent is really huge. There are countless families and sects on the continent, including many big families named Lin alone. If he is a disciple of a large sect, then there are countless others. For a time, they were unable to reconcile Lin Ji with a certain family. However, they did not ask further questions. If they continued to ask, it would be impolite. A heavenly lord suddenly frowned and said, "Little friend Lin, I look at your bone age and it seems that you are only over 2,000 years old." As soon as these words came out, everyone looked at Lin Moyu. If Lin Moyu was really only over 2,000 years old, that would be terrible. Lin Moyu had actually forgotten how old he was, and time seemed to have lost its meaning. After Bai pacified the Great World and defeated the Dojie, Baimen spent most of their time in the Boundary Sea. Although nearly 10 years have passed in the Big World, to him, it is only a few years. A rough estimate is that it is about the same, probably less than 2,000 years old. Lin Moyu nodded slightly, Yu Huiyin. This was considered an admission, and everyone took a breath. Regardless of his background, Lin Moyu's reputation as a super genius is firmly established. Sure enough, he is a top genius, a peak supreme being who is more than 2,000 years old. There have been several more in the origin continent throughout the ages. I think that when I was 2,000 years old, I seemed to have just arrived at Hanzhouan, and I was still one person away from being the supreme master. To be able to reach the Holy Master at the age of 2,000 is already an incredible talent. Most people who are 2,000 have just stepped onto the other side. The deities of the human race were talking a lot, some were envious, some admired, and some were jealous. Yun Hongxin, is the elder of Jiutian Pagoda. If you have time in the future, you can come and sit at Jiutian Pagoda. I'm from Liang sect, my name is Wu Yu. Yang Ming, of Xingxiu Tower, welcome little friends to visit us. Many people showed favor to Lin Moyu. Even if they couldn't make friends with such a top genius, at least they couldn't offend him. At the age of 2,000, he will reach the peak of Supreme Being. If it takes several thousand years, he may become the peak of Supreme Being. Becoming a Taoist master in the future is basically a matter of course. At this time, a gust of fragrant wind came, and a graceful woman came in front of me. She was extremely beautiful but not gaudy. She is dignified and personable, with mature charm everywhere, yet at the same time she is girlish and bright. Lin Moyu was in awe. This was a high-level heavenly lord. Among the many heavenly lords, there were not many high-level heavenly lords. Especially female deities, there are very few. The woman came to Lin Moyu and said with a chuckle, "Young friend Lin, you are polite. The slave is Lu Fengmiao from Lu Feng Chamber of Commerce. In the future, you will be like this. If you, Guolin, need help from the Lu Feng Chamber of Commerce, you can contact Nujia." Lu Fengmiao smiled, dignified yet charming, and handed the work card to Lin Moyu's hand. Lin Moyu heard Master Shui Ji say that there is a force called Lufeng Chamber of Commerce in Wuyuan continent. If he wants to buy something, he can go to them. The Lufeng Chamber of Commerce is a very powerful force on the original continent, stronger than ordinary family sects. Unexpectedly, 12 people from Lufeng Chamber of Commerce would come to participate in the Jiahai order. Lin Moyu took the jade token and said, "Thank you, Senior Lu. If I need anything, I will come to you." Lu Fengmiao smiled sweetly, "I hope I can help my little friend in the future." She smiled lightly and walked away without being sloppy. The whole process was not artificial at all, and she didn't look like she was trying to get close at all. Actually, it is true that there is no need to get close. With the strength of the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce, it has surpassed most sects and families. And when she announced her name, many of the heavenly lords showed surprise. Obviously, Lu Fengmiao's reputation is not small, and many people know her. Lin Moyu felt that the queen's murderous intention seemed to be strong. The conversation on his side was obviously heard by the other party. The demon clan's murderous intention was very naked and there was no concealment at all. Lin Moyu was secretly vigilant. After all, those were heavenly lords, so he had to be careful. The transmission is still continuing, and the number of demons and humans is still increasing. Lin Moyu thought in a low voice, the demon race, the human race, these two races seem to be the main ones on the original human continent. Weak. The dragon clan quickly gathered together. Although they only had a divine dragon, their momentum was no better than that of the slave clan and the human clan. On that day, the number of demons and humans exceeded tens of thousands, but not a single other race was seen. Finally, half a day later, the aura of Japan's high spirits came with the teleportation to Nanting. Lin Moyu was slightly startled. It's the breath of the dragon clan. The next second, a dragon roar resounded through the square, and a heavenly realm divine dragon appeared in the square. Then there were bursts of dragon chants, and several more divine dragons appeared. The combat power of the dragon clan is invincible among those in the same realm. They can fight across levels, and it is also common for low-level heavenly lords to defeat mid-level heavenly lords. Everyone was not surprised by the appearance of the dragon clan. They seemed to have known about it beforehand. Immediately afterwards, another sharp cry echoed through the square, and everyone present frowned. Lin Moyu was shocked. Zhong clan, they are so awe-inspiring. The 10-headed divine dragon stood upside down with dragon scales, and Riguang looked ahead warily. A cheetah meter-shaped mouth-shaped nest appeared in the square, occupying a large space. Coming out of the nest is like bees competing, and there are countless babies inside ready to go. Lin Moyu frowned. The mother of insects is the mother of causes. Lin Moyu had seen a similar Zhong clan. At that time, the dragon clan called them Zhong Mu. Each insect mother is an independent human army, and they can produce countless insect warriors. The Zerg warriors produced by the Zerg prisoners are only as good as a low-level heavenly-level insect mother can produce countless low-level supreme-level insect warriors. The insect mother in front of me is an intermediate-level heavenly lord, and she can produce countless intermediate-level supreme-level insect warriors. Although the supreme is nothing, if you face endless mid-level supremes, even if you are a supreme, you will feel a headache. Long Xian and Chu Fong are sworn enemies. When Chu Xian appeared, several dragons from the dragon clan were already staring at each other, as if they would take action at any time. The insect mother also stared at the dragon clan, and kept making sharp and unpleasant roars. The nests like honeycombs opened one after another, and the insect warriors inside could rush in at any time. Out of rice. Lin Moyu knew that if it weren't for the Jihai order, and if it weren't for the fact that this was the territory of the king of Jihai, they would have fought long ago. Why are the Zergs here too? Chu Xian rarely comes to the Realm Sea to engage in world wars. It's really rare. The sea area where the Zerg is located is really unlucky. If you encounter them, it will be good if you can save your life. Yes, the Zhong tribe is cruel, and all the worlds it encounters will be destroyed. Not a single living thing will be left, and even the Lord of the World will be killed. Not only that, in the sea area where the Zhong clan is located, even the sea cow spirit on the front surface cannot survive. I am afraid that only the ruler of the sea area can survive. In the mouths of the deities, Chuxing means destruction and death. Wherever Chuxing passes, no grass will grow and all things will become extinct. The space was distorted again, and a second insect mother appeared, then a third, and then a fourth. A total of 9 people from the Zhong clan came, including 4 middle-level Great Masters and 1 high-level Great Master. High-level Chinzan can produce high-level Supreme Warriors from the tribe, and the number is almost endless. In addition, the high-level Chinzan of the companions can see after the Chu clan arrived. The transmission did not stop there. A big tree appeared in the square, thousands of meters high, covered with thick vines, almost touching the top of the square. After the big tree appeared, it quickly shrank in size, eventually reaching a height of 10 meters. Then, some flowers and plants appeared one after another. They had different shapes, but they were all plants. Someone from the human race said, the Baichao Alliance has also arrived, and this time they are all together. Originally there was a Buddhist clan, but it's a pity that they committed suicide on their own, and the interface has nothing to do with them from now on. Yes, those guys from the Buddha tribe are really crazy. I really don't know what they are thinking. Those people are not normal to begin with. Listening to the discussion of the Heavenly Lords, Lin Moyu knew that these plant-type Heavenly Lords were from a country called the 100 Alliance. Although he is not very strong, he is not weak either. In addition, there are Buddhists. However, for some reasons, the Buddha cannot enter the Boundary Sea and participate in the World War, so they cannot come here. Human race, monster race, dragon race, Zerg race, Baichao Alliance, Sea race, plus Buddha race. There are 10 major races in total, plus some random minor races. This is the pattern of the original continent. Among the 7 tribes, the Dragon Clan and the Mountain Clan are mortal enemies, and they will fight each other to the death whenever they have the chance. The human race and the demon race have a hostile relationship, but they are not mortal enemies. They will not fight and kill each other as soon as they meet. The Demon Clan is just like the Private Clan, it is very united internally, and there will be conflicts and conflicts. The Baichao Alliance and the Sea Clan are not very clear. The Zerg Clan should be united, but there are also conflicts within the Dragon Clan. Whether it is the human race or the demon race, it seems that they are hostile to the Dragon race and the Baichao Alliance. The Buddhist clan has its own system and knows the internal situation. Lin Moyu quickly analyzed the situation of each race. What interested him most was that in his own human world, the 7 races of the original human land, it seems that everyone can ask. I don't know how the human world evolves, it's really amazing. The Baichao Alliance was the last to arrive, and no one came after that. 1 day later, the stone pillars in the square lit up with various lights and then grew in size, making the entire building look gorgeous. Amidst all the colorful rays of light, a dark shadow slowly emerged. Huge coercion swept across the entire venue, and Lin Mo's whole body was so violent that he said, "What a strong pressure." Lin Moyu once saw the Taoist master with a 7-color display. When the Qixin Tongzuan used time retrieval, the accompaniment of the sutra broke out in the Tianli area. But the pressure at that time was far less than what I feel now. The two are very different and cannot be compared. It can be seen from this that even among Taoist masters, there is a huge gap between them. Lin Moyu looked at Black Shadow. Is this the king of the Realm Sea? The dark shadow appeared later, and all the light focused on him, eventually forming a colorful shadow. The phantom gradually became real, and finally became exactly the same as the human race. Is one of your seas the human race? Lin Moyu immediately rejected his idea. His spiritual sense told him that this was not the case. He noticed that no matter they were monsters, dragons, or even bugs, when they looked at the phantom, they all seemed to be seeing seniors of the same race, with some admiration. Lin Moyu immediately realized that this shadow was unusual. The phantom that everyone sees is different. To the human race, he looks like the human race. When the slave clan looked at him, he looked like a slave clan, and when the dragon clan looked at him, he became a divine dragon again. When any race looks over, what they see is the appearance of their own race. Instinctively, he will be regarded as the senior of his clan. Lin Moyu thought about this in an instant. His eyes must be clear, sure enough, Wei Tian. At the same time, he wandered around the crowd, trying to see who else was not affected. Suddenly, a pleasant voice remembered in my ear, "My little friend is really extraordinary, he can actually see through the essence." Lin Moyu found Lu Fengtian in his human turban, and their eyes intertwined in the air. Lu Feng was still staring at him with a smile. Lu Fengyao, like herself, remains clear in sunlight and is not affected by the glow. Xiao Ji is her, and so are the other high-ranking deities. There is indeed a difference between high-level Heavenly Lord and mid-level Heavenly Lord, and many Heavenly Lords at this level have been affected. The thick voice of the King of the Boundary Sea sounded. This time the Boundary Sea order is activated. You will go to a special space. The mission of the reserve is to go to the depths of the special space and bring back some special fish bones. The More special fish bones you bring back, the richer the rewards you will get. There is danger in that special space. Please be careful in the storage space. If there is danger, you can activate the Jihai order. The Jihai order will protect the safety of the storage space. Once Zhu Hailing is activated, the reserve will also lose the qualification for this expedition. Following his words, the colors in the void intertwined into a shape of fish bones. These fish bones come in all kinds of strange shapes. However, they had one thing in common. There was a strange pattern painted on the fish bones, and Lin Moyu memorized this pattern firmly. This Jihai order was just an expedition mission. The mission seemed very simple, but Si Lin Yu felt that it was not that easy. Someone asked, "Dear Jihai Jigan, besides fish bones, what other spoons are there in the special space?" Light and shadow intertwined, and the voice of the king of the boundary sea sounded again. There are many things in the special space. It is said that there will be high-level origins in it. Whether you can obtain it depends on your luck. Depends on luck? Lin Moyu understood clearly, probably because of his strength. That special space is definitely not safe. Lin Moyu suddenly asked, "Excuse me, are there any high-level spiritual materials in it?" Dianying looked over, and the moonlight seemed to fall on Song Moyu in a substantial way. He seemed to be very interested in Lin Moyu. He couldn't help but look at it for a while, and then slowly said, "High-level spiritual materials, or in painted." Lin Moyu asked again, "In addition to the fish bones, how do we count the other things we got?" His question is what many people want to ask. The king of the boundary sea replied, "Except for the fish bones, you can handle all the other harvests by yourself. Don't worry about the danger." Everyone looked happy. Except for the fish bones, the other harvested 0 chi-chi could be handled by themselves. If you are lucky, you might be able to get a lot of good lexi. If you get a piece of high-level origin, you will be rewarded. And I got the fish bones, which can be exchanged for rewards from the king of the Garden Sea. Many people looked happy and started to get excited. Man dies for money, birds dies for food, nothing more than that. Lin Moyu remained calm in his heart. There is another meaning in his words. He doesn't want anything else, and he doesn't like high-level people. But if someone gets a fish bone and doesn't go to the Father, he will draw a holy stone. What kind of wooden road are these fish bones? How can they be more important than the high-level origin? These people are too excited. They must have been affected by the land of Boundary Sea. Their emotions have been aroused and they have lost their previous calmness. Is this the method of the king of the realm sea? Unknowingly affecting the emotions of the Lord. At this time, Lu Fengyao's voice sounded in his ears again. That world should be very dangerous. Xiao Yu Lin should be careful. If there is danger, you can use the jade sign to call, and the slave family will come as soon as possible. Lu Fengyao was trying to show her good intentions. She felt that although Lin Moyu was a genius, he was only at the pinnacle after all. No matter how talented he was, he could not limit it. In case of danger, if you can help yourself, you can become a doctor. In fact, this is also a kind of gambling on Lin Moyu's background and Lin Moyu's future. Lin Moyu understood Lu Fengyao's thoughts and smiled. "Thank you, Senior Lu, I will be careful." At this time, a sharp voice sounded, "Dear King, is it okay to kill someone while you are sleeping?" The king of Boundary Sea quickly responded, "Yes." This answer gave some thoughtful people other ideas. You can kill people there. If Long Fong and the Zerg meet, it goes without saying that you will die or I will live. Some demon tribes have their thoughts set on Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu immediately felt several eyes full of murderous intent, naked murderous intent, without any concealment. I will not respond silently to this. If you really encounter me, you will be unlucky. What surprised Lin Moyu the most was that some of the traces of murderous intent came from the human race. Someone in the human race actually wants to kill him. Lin Moyu found it a bit funny. The mistakes within the human race were complicated and beyond imagination. The most troublesome thing is that the hint of murderous intention actually comes from a high-level heavenly lord. The high-ranking heavenly lord was smiling at me before, as if he was looking at his younger generation like a kind elder. But secretly, there is murderous intention. Come on, it's not that easy to kill me. Even if you are a high-level master, I will make you peel off your skin. Lin Moyu was furious in his heart. Anyone who wants to kill him must be prepared to be killed. After a while, Song Haizitu asked in a deep voice, "Are there any questions?" No one asked any more questions, and the king of Boundary Sea continued, "Okay, please be prepared." The square roared, the glow enveloped the square, and the flat square turned into a ball of light and sank quickly. The square sank very quickly and covered a long distance in the blink of an eye. Lin Moyu felt the changes in the Boundary Sea. It is already more than 500,000 meters away. Where is that special space? In the space under the Boundary Sea of 500,000 meters, not even the sky dares to enter the medical field. But now they go in like this, openly and openly. Vaguely, Lin Moyu felt that there seemed to be a giant creature outside the square. This creature sank together with the square. Although he couldn't see the appearance of the creature clearly, Lin Moyu guessed a possibility. This creature was sent by the king of Boundary Sea to protect them. It is even possible that this creature is Lahai Jiqian himself with his escort all the way. The square did not encounter any danger. Finally, the square stopped rising deep in the Boundary Sea. At this time, it was unknown how much it had sunk. Lin Moyu judged that it should be more than 1 million meters. The colorful rays of light changed over the square, and the space became distorted. A special passage suddenly appeared in the sky. The other end of the passage was the special space mentioned by the king of the Boundary Sea. The voice of the Boundary Sea workers sounded, "Everyone, please set off." Without hesitation, countless people flew up at the same time and rushed into the passage. Lin Moyu also slowly stood up and flew away with everyone. At this time, Lu Fengyao's voice sounded in her ears again, "Lin Xiaoxi, please be careful, you even want to kill Xiao Tai." Lin Moyu smiled slightly, "I know." It wasn't just people from the demon clan who wanted to kill him, there were also people from the human race who wanted to kill him. Just before Bai Ji was about to enter the passage, Lin Moyu suddenly felt a few more marks on his body. A smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Instead of looking for them, they came to the door themselves. Leave a mark and you can find yourself. And through these marks, you can judge DUI want strength 55. There are 382 marks in total. There are quite a few people who want to kill me. But why are you here to join in the fun? Among these 382 signs, there is only one high-level deity from the human race. The marks he made were very secretive. If Lin Mo's spiritual sense hadn't been powerful enough, he might not have been able to detect them. Lin Moyu pretended not to notice and followed the team into the special space. His vision became blurred, and Lin experienced a special delivery. In this teleportation, even Chinzan will lose his direction and can only follow the teleportation forward. Lin Moyu could roughly feel the direction of the teleportation through the law of space questioning. He will be sent to another world, and the location is not fixed. It is conceivable that most people will disperse by then. But one thing is the same, everyone has just reached the edge of that special space. 1.8 But the fish bones you have to find yourself are going deeper. What kind of special space is this? Why does the king of Jihai not care about his own rice, but wants us heavenly lords to cross the rice? If there are restrictions, there are so many deities in the world, they can come. Lin Moyu thought in his heart, and at the same time, the fire of living in the world was ignited. A large number of marks had been erased. Lin Moyu was not a fool. So many people had made marks. If Qi came to visit him, what would Bai Ji do? Is it possible to beat him? Of course, there is no need to erase them all. Lin Moyu also left 5 marks. The 5 marks all come from the White Demon Clan, and they are 5 low-level demon clans who have reached the supreme level. The reason why they left their marks is let them come to you and eat them back. If you want to kill me, you have to pay the price. There was danger in his eyes. Don't worry, I will play this game slowly with you. The sight was restored, and a group of people entered the special space. Several demon clansmen sensed it immediately and found that the mark they left on Lin Moyu's body had disappeared. They didn't know that Lin Moyu had cleared the mark. In their opinion, the mark left by him, a boy in the Supreme Realm, let alone cleared it, probably wouldn't even be discovered. They felt that it was a problem with the transmission, or a problem with this special space, which caused the mark to disappear. You're lucky, don't let me touch you. If I touch you, I will eat you. Some monsters gritted their teeth and cursed to Lin Moyu in their heart boxes. Several Demon Clan heavenly lords found that the marks they left on Lin Moyu were still there, and immediately flew in the direction of Lin Moyu. With cruel smiles, they had already begun to imagine the scene of Lin Moyu being tortured and killed by them. Somewhere in the special space, a high-level supreme human race's eyes were slightly gloomy. The mark disappeared. It seems that this kid is lucky. Is it related to this space? I hope you can survive and don't meet me alone. He didn't think Lin Moyu had the ability to clear away the marks he left, and he also blamed this space. He began to look at this special space, looking for direction. Lin Moyu was also looking at this special space in 06. Ling Jue told him that this space was not safe. The King of Boundary Sea calls it a special space. What's so special about it? There are mountains and water here. There is no difference between seeing a doctor and a world where you can live in a house. Lin Moyu stood on a high mountain, looking into the distance. He didn't fly. He was new here, so he had to be careful with some of his movements. It's hard to say what bad things will happen if it flies. Having experienced too many dungeon secret realms, Lin Moyu has a rich world to explore. As far as the eye can see, there is a huge hole in the sky, and a waterfall pours down into the earth. Lin Moyu could vaguely see that there seemed to be a lake in the sky. This space is leaky. Lin Moyu thought in his heart. This reminded him of the great world of the past, with gaps everywhere, and water from the Boundary Sea would pour in. That scene was somewhat similar to what I see now. Combined with the location of this space, Lin Moyu felt that his guess was probably correct. This space was also damaged like the previous big world, so water from the Boundary Sea poured in. Then what comes in with the water of Jiahai may also be the creatures of Jiahai Chen. This place is located deep in the Boundary Sea, and the creatures in the Boundary Sea are extremely powerful. Those who come here are most likely to be the Boundary Sea creatures in the heavenly realm. I don't know how many years the gap has existed. I don't know how many creatures from the World Sea have come in. Where they went is unknown. But this can't be called special. There should be other reasons. Is it prosperous? Lin Moyu remained motionless, like a sculpture, sensing with his spiritual sense. He didn't even use the Eye of the Undead. He had suffered losses in the world of Julie Tianzuan's rules. Although he is not afraid of Tianzuan now, there are some things that he still needs to be careful about. Under the spiritual sense, there is no particularly big problem. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and the lichen brocade appeared beside him. The Genie Night March was launched, and the Genie Lich disappeared without a trace. Xian Longqian visited the district doctor. The brocade-robed Lich kept transmitting back what he saw and felt, giving Lin Moyu the illusion of feeling the same thing. The space here is very solid and cannot be destroyed or penetrated. The space gate is temporarily restricted, teleportation is more difficult than usual, and the speed is also suppressed. It invades Busi. The strength has also weakened, but fortunately the suppression is not very severe, at least it is still 70% of the usual strength. Lin Moyu could feel that this suppression came from the rules of this space. This kind of rule is very advanced. You are obviously affected, but you can't find it without taking action. Try the power of time and space. Lin Moyu's heart moved, the power of time and space flowed through his body, and the space slowly twisted and folded. The whole process is very slow. Although the power of time and space can still be used, it is also greatly affected. Finally, Lin Moyu entered another time and space. It seemed that he was still in the same place, but in fact he was in a different time and space. The power of time and space can still be used, which is good. The power of time and space can be used, which is good news for Mamoyu. The Lich's speed was suppressed, and it took him a while to fly to the waterfall. Lin Moyu saw a lake through the sight of the brocade-robed Lich. There was indeed a lake, but it was different from what he thought. The lake is actually located in mid-air, forming a hemispherical water mass. Around the lake, water is constantly overflowing and entering a bottomless pit. What a strange picture! Lin Moyu thought in his heart. Lin Moyu asked the Lich and Lich to follow the overflowing water and enter this bottomless play hole. The jean-clothed Lich immediately flew downwards, and his vision became darker and darker. The jean-clothed Lich didn't care about the darkness, and could see clearly even if there was no light. Shortly after entering the pothole, a glimmer of light suddenly lit up in front of my eyes. A little bit of blue-green glimmering light flew up from the pothole, and the glimmering light was like a small insect, flying in the playing hole. But the next second, Lin Moyu's expression changed drastically. These shining lights actually flew straight towards the Lich and Genie, and the Lich and Genie was discovered. As the distance got closer, Lin Moyu could see clearly that these glistening lights looked nothing like bugs at all. The light is emitted by the bug itself. Without thinking much, the Lich in imperial clothes immediately retreated at a very fast speed. But the little bug was faster and caught up with Leany Lich in the blink of an eye. A small insect landed on the brocade-robed Lich and exploded. The huge impact directly blew away the Lich in imperial clothes. The Great Avenue Blessing was automatically activated and blocked the attack for the Lich and Jean. However, the Lich and Jean was still seriously injured and his body was blown up by the explosion. It's so powerful. Lin Moyu's eyes shrank. After being protected by the penetrating avenue, the explosive force was still able to blow up the brocade-robed Lich half to death. The power of this explosion has reached the level of an electric-level deity. Such an inconspicuous little insect can actually launch the same attack as an intermediate heavenly lord, which is really shocking. It's a pity that their attack method is to self-destruct. After the self-destruction, they don't even leave corpse fragments. Otherwise, Lin Moyu really wants to collect some and become a resurrector. When the time comes, I'll blow up whoever I don't like. The brocade-robed Lich was seriously injured by the explosion, but he escaped because of the force of the explosion. Lin Moyu's heart moved and he immediately took back the brocade-robed Lich. Those little bugs immediately lost their target, flew randomly for a while, and then disappeared. Lin Moyu finally understood the dangers of this world, even for a small insect. There must be more dangers elsewhere. Strong. The lizard branch hates the human race and often conflicts with the human race. Therefore, among the many demon clans, he had the most hatred towards himself. Just when he wanted to try again, he suddenly looked to the left. A monster with a lizard-like appearance was approaching quickly. It came so fast. Lin Moyu sensed the other party's aura, which was the same as a mark he deliberately left behind. A low-level heavenly lord from the monster clan, a branch of the lizard. It's a pity that he is just a low-level heavenly lord, and he only came here to deliver food. It's just that Lin Moyu was curious. He flew all the way over and didn't encounter any danger. This luck seems good. But now his good luck is coming to an end. Lizard Chinzan came to a stop 1,000 meters away from Lin Moyu, with a sneer in his eyes and a slender tongue that kept sticking out. I heard that the blood of human geniuses is very delicious. I can taste it today. He didn't see any panic from Lin Moyu, and he was obviously a little dissatisfied. Boy, aren't you afraid of death? Lin Moyu shook his head gently. I find it a little strange. You obviously hate the human race, but you want to look like the human race. Can you tell me why? Lizard Chinzan tilted his head and looked at Lin Moyu, as if he was looking at an idiot. Lin Moyu immediately realized that he had asked the wrong question. The question he asked may be a common-sense question that everyone in the mainland of origin knows. Otherwise, Lizard Chinzan would not have this kind of expression. Those who can become Chinzan will not be fools, and so will Lizard Chinzan. He suddenly realized something and shouted, I know. You have no background at all. You are not a genius. You just... Lin Moyu suddenly interrupted him, and the skeleton hell emerged and covered it. Countless hellish evil spirits rushed out and surrounded the lizard Chinzan. The eyes of the undead in the air stared at me, and the horrible soul hit the lizard heaven with waves. The lizard Chinzan let out a scream, and his soul was shocked. Even Chinzan could at least make him hurt once. A bright light burst out on his body, and a piece of armor automatically appeared, and the huge power shocked all the fierce spirits of hell. Naturally, Chinzan could not be trapped to death by the skeleton hell. Lin Moyu never thought that using the skeleton hell was just to delay him for a little time, even if it was only 1 or 2 seconds. The immortal flames burned brightly, and 100 skeleton kings flew out, killed the skeleton hell instead of the fierce spirit of hell, and instantly completed the encirclement of the lizard. When the lizard Chinzan came to his senses from the impact of the soul, wherever he saw, he was the king of skulls. The skeleton king did not give him a chance to react at all, and held the sword high at the same time. Boiling. The world of rules emerges, the bones are white, the law. In the world of rules, the white bones turned into countless sharp swords, and the long sword of the skeleton king fell on the lizard. Spell, kill the god with white bones. The white bone rules attack the soul, and the sword of the skeleton king kills the body. Hundreds of skeleton kings came out with swords at the same time, and the lizard Chinzan didn't even have time to hum and blew up on the spot. Lin Mo frowned, isn't he dead? He felt that the lizard's breath disappeared for a moment, and then appeared again. A light flew out fiercely, through the encirclement of the skeleton king, and flew directly out of hundreds of miles, showing the appearance of a lizard. In the place where the lizard Chinzan died, something like a double puppet appeared, which has been smashed to pieces. This treasure replaced the lizard Chinzan once. Chinzan, a lizard who escaped from the sky, looked panicked and frightened. He didn't dare to look back at all and flew to the distance. If it weren't for the limitation of this space, it is estimated that lizard Chinzan could escape further. Lin Moyu sneered, you can't escape! Exclamation point. After snapping his fingers, another 100 skeleton kings appeared. The Skull King waved his bone sword at the same time and cut it again. It has been marked by the skeleton hell, not to mention escaping hundreds of miles, even thousands of miles is useless. The lizard Chinzan felt the coming of death and immediately took out the Boundary Sea Order to activate it, but it was still a step late. The white sword light lit up on the lizard Chinzan again, and the lizard Chinzan's expression became pale, and his consciousness fell into endless darkness. The body and soul burst at the same time and turned into ashes. Ko! The skeleton king flew over and brought back some of the remaining minced meat. When he died, Jia Hailing suddenly disappeared and didn't know where he was going. Fortunately, there is still some minced meat. Let's take it as waste. Lin Moyu smiled in his heart, waved casually, and put away the skeleton king. Then Kujun appeared beside him, and Lin Moyu realized that he still didn't know enough about the original continent. You can ask Kujun some questions. He must know. Let's talk about why those demons have turned into humanoids. Kujun, as a resurrector, answered, because the human race is a Taoist body. If the demon clan wants to walk on the road, it will eventually turn into a human form. The higher the realm, the more perfect the humanization will be. The demon clan above Taoism is no different from the ordinary people. Lin Moyu continued to ask, where are the dragons and the Zerg? Kujun said, the dragon clan is also a Taoist body. They don't need to turn into human figures, but some dragon clans will also turn into human figures and travel to the human area. As for the Zerg, my subordinates are not clear. This problem is indeed common sense, and almost all the original mainland practitioners know it. No wonder Lizard Chinzan realized that he had a problem. Lin Moyu felt that he should let Kujun tell him some common sense things. Kujun obeyed Lin Moyu's order and quickly said some common sense things. Unfortunately, after becoming a comeback to life, his memory is not complete, and some memories have been lost. During Kujun's narration, Lin Moyu sent a group of skeleton generals and began to officially explore this special space. He still stood still and did not move. Lin Moyu was not in a hurry. Anyway, the king of the Boundary Sea did not specify a specific time. And at that time, I just said that there was no specific direction in the depths of this special space. Before I figured out whether the space was round or flat, I couldn't figure out what the depths represented. If this space is round, the waterfall you saw before may be able to reach the depths, and you have to find a way to enter the hole. If it is flat, then you need to find the right direction. There is another possibility that the world is not regular. If so, it will be troublesome. The skeleton god will fly in all directions, and Lin Moyu believes that he will get the answer soon. The world is very big. The skeleton god will fly for a while, but nothing has been found. There are many mountains and rivers. The mountains are shaded by trees, and moss and other plants can be seen in the water. It seems that the world is full of vitality. The skeleton god will open the vision of the undead after being far away, and there is no soul fire in the sight. Tens of thousands of people came in, and the skeleton god flew in all directions, but no one touched it, which also showed that the world was very vast. The people who came in were distributed everywhere. Before, the lizard god could find it so quickly, but he could only say that he was lucky. Touch. Suddenly, a skeleton god bumped into the invisible wall and bounced back. Lin Moyu connected the vision at the first time, and did not see anything through the undead vision of the skeleton general. Flying again to the place where it was hid before, the skeleton god will touch an invisible barrier. Soon, another skeleton god hit the invisible barrier and was bounced back one by one. As the skeleton gods encountered the barrier one after another, Lin Moyu finally knew the size and shape of his area. He seems to have entered a cover, and the shape of the cover is not very regular, and it seems to be angular. The approximate diameter range is about tens of millions of miles, which is only very small compared with the range of hundreds of millions and thousands of light years in the big world. It's just that the speed here is suppressed, the space law is difficult to use, and the range of tens of millions of miles is not too small. Lin Moyu fell into meditation. The special space will not be only this big. If this special space is divided into countless large, goodly how, small and shaped areas, it can be explained. This kind of environment has not been seen before. An inheritance place left by Xingfu Tianzuan is almost the same. At present, you have to go through that big pit before you can enter other areas. Lin Moyu will continue to release more skeleton gods. Searching, I got up and flew to the leak. At present, there is nothing unusual about the space he is in, except for the waterfall that leaks from the sky. If it is really as he guessed, then the people who came in were divided into different areas to praise. Maybe some people will be divided into the same area, such as themselves and Lizard Tianzuan. Most of them should be separated. As it got closer and closer to the waterfall, Lin Moyu felt the strong breath of the Boundary Sea. The breath of the Boundary Sea is emitted through the waterfall, and it is limited to a certain range by a mysterious force. After a careful search, Lin Moyu is 90% sure that the waterfall in front of him is the key to leaving this space. Standing in front of the waterfall, looking at the bottomless pit, Lin Moyu did not go in immediately. The skeleton generals were still searching, and Lin Moyu wanted to finally determine whether there was any other way besides the one in front of him. The pit was not safe, and he didn't want to go in if possible. The genie lich was almost killed before, and those little bugs in the big pit were quite terrifying. The skeleton gods searched every corner, entered deep mountains and old forests, drilled into lakes, and dug 3 feet into the ground, but found nothing. It seems that there is only one way forward. The bugs in the pit are difficult to deal with, so we can only give it a try. Lin Moyu's heart moved, and a group of skeleton generals rushed into the pit. As it goes deeper, the pit becomes darker and darker, until all light disappears. Soon, a little blue-green light appeared. Lin Moyu frowned slightly. Not a living creature? The eyes of the undead are always open. In the eyes of the undead, these little bugs have no soul fire. There is no soul fire, which also means that these neutrons are not living beings. If not a living being, what is it? The skeleton god general swung his long sword and slashed out the white bone sword energy. The white sword energy illuminated the pit. For a moment, the pit seemed to have turned into a world of bones. The sword energy swallowed up the little bug, but it did not cause an explosion like Lin Moyu expected. The little bugs ignored the sword energy, passing through the sword energy with their unique blue-green gleaming light, and landed directly on the skeleton god general. Boom! An explosion sounded, and Hua Shipi was blown to pieces by ancient sweet and slippery electricity. The number of insects is astonishing. They pass through the sword energy at very fast speeds and find their targets quickly. Explosions continued for a while, and countless skeleton gods were blown to pieces. Although the explosion is powerful, its power is extremely concentrated. One insect can just kill a skeleton general, which is very accurate. The undead will come into play, and the skeleton god will be quickly resurrected to complete regeneration. Lin Moyu was glad that he had raised the undead soul to the original level, allowing it to still control its development after leaving the big world. The sword energy is useless. These bugs have no souls and ignore the sword energy. What on earth are they? Lin Moyu summoned more skeleton generals to replace the previous group and continue deeper. Not long after advancing, another group of insects flew out. They ignored the sword energy and landed on every skeleton general without any mistakes. In the explosion, the skeleton god general was blown to pieces again, and then quickly resurrected. The undead spirit can resurrect the skeleton god 6 times within 60 seconds. As long as the rhythm is controlled correctly, these skeleton god generals will not really die. Lin Moyu divided the skeleton god generals into 6 batches and explored each batch alternately so as to ensure that the skeleton god generals would not really die. Now he can't find a way to deal with the bugs, so he can only use this suicidal method to explore. As we go deeper, there are more and more insects, seemingly endless. Moreover, the frequency of bugs appearing is getting higher and higher, and the number is also increasing. 6 batches of skeletons are used alternately, but none of them can be used. Lin Moyu frowned, thinking about the solution. My method is definitely wrong. If it were anyone else, it would be impossible to pass through this passage. Even a high-level Chinzan probably won't be able to do it. There must be other ways. But in the pit, apart from insects, there is only the Jiehai waterfall pouring down from the sky. Lin Moyu suddenly realized that these insects had never entered the waterfall. Could it be that the waterfall is the right way? Lin Moyu thought in his heart. He had actually thought about it before, but when he was near the waterfall, Lin Moyu felt uneasy. Now he tries to get the skeleton lord into the waterfall. The moment you enter the waterfall, you lose control. The waterfall contains infinite power, which directly carries the skeleton god general and rushes to the deepest point. At the same time, huge waves of force hit the skeleton god general like a heavy hammer. The skeleton god general only lasted a few seconds before being smashed on the spot. The damage from the boundary sea ignored the connection ability in Lin Moyu's talent, and all the damage was borne by the skeleton god alone. Not only was the talent blocked, but even the undead souls were rendered ineffective. When the skeleton god general was broken, it was when he truly died. Lin Moyu immediately felt that the number of skeleton god generals, AGF, had been reduced by 10. The water of the boundary sea here comes from below 500,000 meters and may even reach 1 million meters. The deeper the boundary sea is, the more powerful it contains. The intensity of the impact has exceeded the limit that the Supreme Lord can withstand. It is estimated that even the lower-level Heavenly Lord will not be able to hold on for long. If the waterfall is the right way, then this road is also very dangerous. In other words, both paths are actually correct, but they are taken in different ways. In other words, both paths are actually correct, but they are taken in different ways. Lin Moyu had a guess in his mind and felt that the two paths were actually correct. To get out of the hole, you need to find a way to deal with the bugs. To walk from the waterfall, you need to be able to withstand the impact of the waterfall, and we don't know how long the impact will last. There are two options. Everyone can choose according to their own circumstances. The only thing they have in common is that neither road is easy to follow. After careful consideration, Lin Moyu decided that he would still choose to walk through the pothole. Compared to the waterfall, this road is more suitable for me. And Lin Moyu was curious about the origin of these bugs. The skeleton god will continue to advance in batches, although not at a fast pace, always moving forward. When 6 batches are not enough, they can be divided into 12 or 24 batches. Anyway, we have enough skeleton god generals, so we don't have to worry about not being able to rotate them. Lin Moyu also followed the team into the pit, gradually going deeper. I don't know how deep it went, but the number of bugs continued to increase. Now the skeleton god general has been divided into 24 batches. Almost every 2 or 3 seconds, he will encounter 10 batches of electrons. During the explosions one after another, the corners of Lin Moyu's mouth raised slightly, and he finally thought of how to break this situation. Deep in the boundary sea, a square is shining. The formation in the square isolates the water of the boundary sea from outside. Outside the square, there is a huge figure, covering most of the square. No matter who comes close, he will be mercilessly killed by him. In the deserted square, a dim light suddenly lit up. The bounded sea order appeared in the square, and was then taken away by a force. The Jiahailing was originally carried by every Tianzuan. Now that the Jiahailing has returned, but the Tianzuan has not returned, it means that the Tianzuan is dead. Gradually, more people appeared in the square, holding Jiahailing and looking shocked. When he found out that he was back, he smiled ecstatically again. Some people looked decadent and stood motionless. Everyone has different emotions, but without exception, they all survived and almost died in that special space. If they hadn't relied on the Jiahai order in the end, they would never have thought of coming back. Only then did they realize that that special space was not a little dangerous, but extremely dangerous. As time goes by, more and more people come back, and more Jiahailing comes back. Only then did they realize that they were lucky to have escaped. Those who only came back from Jiahailing have died there. The road to cultivation is thrilling at every step, with dangers and opportunities coexisting. All deities know this. It is a common thing for the upper body to die and disappear midway. Lin Moyu fused the laws of time and space and gathered them into the power of time and space. Under the suppression of this special space, any power of space and time will be restricted if taken alone. Fortunately, the power of space and time produced after fusion, although the effect is greatly reduced, can still be used. The skeleton god general now also carries the power of time and space. Under Lin Moyu's will, they also use the power of time and space to allow themselves to enter another space. In an instant, the insects lost their target and were spinning in the void. Lin Moyu's mouth curved, sure enough. These bugs have no souls, ignore physical attacks, and can accurately target several divine generals. Then the only way is to avoid their lock. Lin Moyu thought of some ways, and also thought about using the bone hell to devour them, but their self-destruction was too powerful, and the bone hell might not be able to withstand it. Finally, I decided to try using the power of time and space to dodge, and found that it really worked. The power of time and space allowed the skeleton gods to enter another level of time and space, and also caused the insects to lose their targets. The insects flew randomly in the void and passed through the body of the skeleton god general. The two overlapped, but because they were not in the same time and space, there was no actual collision. The power of time and space is indeed magical. Lin Moyu controlled the power of time and space and flew downwards with the skeleton gods. Without the bugs to block it, the speed immediately increased a lot. Lin Moyu remained vigilant. No one knew what would happen here. After flying for a long distance, a bright light finally appeared in the sight. Seeing the long-lost dawn in the darkness, Lin Moyu sighed softly in his heart. We finally reached the exit. The light became stronger and stronger, gradually filling the entire site. At the same time, the blue-green light became increasingly dense, and the number of bugs reached its peak. There are dozens or hundreds of insects flying around in every inch of space here. In the entire space, the number of subs is difficult to measure. They made no sound when flying. Although their wings were vibrating, it was silent and extremely strange. What's this? In the area where the insects were most dense, Lin Yu saw a stone. This stone floats in the void, is oval-shaped, and has a diameter of about 1 meter. It also emits blue-green light, but is more vivid. Spots of light kept flying out from the stone and turned into small insects. So that's where the bugs come from. No wonder the bug has no soul, it's just a point of light emanating from this stone. The light spot is so powerful, how powerful should this stone be? Lin Moyu wanted to get this stone. He felt that this stone was a great thing. The skeleton god general stretched out his hand and passed through the stone. Under the influence of the power of time and space, the index will not be able to touch this stone. Lin Moyu was in a dilemma, unable to obtain the stone in the state of time and space. If the power of time and space is removed, these insects will immediately pounce on them and cause self-destruction. Although he has many skeleton generals, he has quite a few neutrons here. And Lin Moyu was not sure whether the self-explosion of the bug would cause other reactions in the stone. But Lin Moyu would be a little unwilling to give up. He knew that this stone must be an extraordinary thing. Even if it was not a powerful magic weapon, it was at least the material of the Heavenly Lord. No matter what it is a pretty good thing for summoning the elemental lich. Lin Moyu thought about it in his mind and said, there are estimated to be around 100 million bugs here. If I use the skeleton god general to lure them away, I might have a chance. As soon as he thought of it, Lin Moyu withdrew from the area and released more ancient god generals. The skeleton god general stood densely packed throughout the pit, and then Lin Moyu returned to the edge of the stone and released the skeleton god general's power of time and space. A soft sound came from the space, and hundreds of millions of skeleton gods simultaneously released the power of time and space and came to the world. Countless bugs were like wolves that had been hungry for 3 days and 3 nights and suddenly smelled the smell of blood and went crazy towards the skeleton god general. Up to this moment, the bugs still maintained a good formation. Each skeleton general was assigned a bug. There was no need to squeeze or grab, everyone had a share. Since the explosion, there has been no intention of stopping. Countless skeleton gods were blown to pieces, and the cave was filled with broken bones. Lin Moyu watched all the insects around him fly towards the skeleton god general. He withdrew the power of time and space in his heart, stretched out his hand and pressed it on the stone, and at the same time, soul power poured into it crazily. If it's a magic weapon, he needs to refine it. If it's a material, he needs to put his own stamp on it. Buzz! A loud noise exploded in his ears, and Lin Moyu's whole body was shaken. There was resistance in the stone. It didn't like Lin Moyu's soul power. A special will burst out from the stone, and Lin Moyu instantly knew what the stone was. It's actually a spiritual material. The king of the Realm Sea is right, there is indeed spiritual material. Lin Moyu also didn't expect that he would encounter spiritual materials as soon as he came in. The spiritual materials that he had been looking for everywhere were now right in front of him. The spirituality of this material is very strong, as if wisdom is about to be born. It doesn't like being controlled by Lin Moyu and will instinctively resist. The stone vibrated, scattering countless light spots, and the light spots turned into insects and came towards Lin Moyu. At this point, how could Lin Moyu give up? The Lich in Brocade appeared and used the Great Avenue to protect him. The immortal golden body is activated, and the whole body is ignited with flames. At the same time, the soul power surges crazily, accelerating the refining of the opponent. Lin Moyu planned to compete to see who was faster. The bug landed on Lin Moyu and exploded. Lin Moyu groaned and his body trembled. The huge power passed through itself and fell on the head of every member of the undead army. It's actually like this. After experiencing the explosion personally, Lin Moyu knew how the bugs attacked. The bug itself has no offensive power, but it can detonate its own laws. In other words, the God General attacked himself. Lin Moyu felt that part of his laws had been detonated by the bug just now and directly attacked him. This kind of attack is equivalent to self-mutilation, and most defense methods will be ineffective. The skeleton god will appear to explode, but in fact the power of the explosion is only concentrated on itself and does not affect others. And the power is just enough to blow yourself up. The world's great wonders. Once you know what's going on, you can immediately think of a way to deal with it. Lin Moyu took the initiative to disperse all the laws. For a moment, his body was empty. Except for the roar of chi and blood, there was no trace of the power of the laws. The second insect landed on Lin Moyu and exploded with a bang. This time, Lin Moyu didn't move at all. He had no way to be attracted by the bug. Once there are no rules, the insect's attack power is almost non-existent. I didn't expect it to be so simple. Lin Moyu stepped up to refine the stone, and the stone resisted more and more fiercely, but Lin Moyu held on tightly and prevented it from escaping. Finally, the soul power left a mark on the stone, and this piece of spiritual material became Lin Moyu's property. The vibration stopped, all the light converged, and the insects stopped attacking. News came one after another, and Linko knew what the stone was. There are countless creatures in the Boundary Sea. In addition to various schools of fish, there are also various creatures such as shrimps, crabs, and snakes. Among them, deep in the Boundary Sea, there is a special creature called a stone insect. The number of stoneworms is extremely rare, and traces of them can only be found occasionally in the Boundary Sea with a depth of more than 500,000 meters. Stoneworms are very strange. After they die, they turn into a stone, and the stone is their corpse. Then all consciousness will be integrated into their own corpses, and when the Gnosis is born again, it is equivalent to their resurrection again. During this period, the stone is like a spiritual material. In order to protect themselves, stoneworms will scatter countless bugs. These bugs exist between reality and reality, can ignore most attacks, and can trigger the enemy's own laws to attack. This is also a way for stoneworms to protect themselves. Once the rebirth is successful, the stoneworm can divide once and split into a new stoneworm, changing from 1 to 2. It is between such 200 deaths and rebirths that stoneworms have been able to thrive and exist to this day. It's a pity that when I met Lin Moyu this time, he couldn't be reborn after his death. Lin Moyu harvested a piece of spiritual material and brought it into the world of rules. Lin Moyu took the stone worm and came to Infinite Fusion. Do you want it? Infinite Fusion did not respond at all and seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. Lin Moyu handed the stone over again and directly controlled Infinite Fusion. A suction force appeared, and the sleeping Infinite Fusion firmly sucked the stoneworm. Seeing the stoneworm being sucked in, Lin Moyu burst out laughing. I really didn't forget to eat even when I was asleep. He could feel that after sucking the stoneworm in, the aura of unlimited combination began to recover quickly. Judging from this, it won't take long to recover and even be stronger than before. Sure enough, spiritual materials are needed. Lin Moyu knew that his guess was correct. Spiritual materials can indeed restore the strength of Infinite Fusion and can also enhance its strength. Spiritual materials are its food, and it is very picky about food. Every time it eats, it must be better than the last time. Now even if you give it a low-level spiritual material, it won't eat it. The consciousness exited the world of rules, and the pit was completely empty, with no more blue-green bugs. There was only the sound of the waterfall pouring down in his ears, and Lin Moyu looked towards the exit ahead. The waterfall happened to rush out of this exit, and Lin Moyu also rushed out of the exit along the path of the waterfall. The world turned from darkness to light and became clear, and Lin Moyu found himself standing high in the sky. The waterfall falls tens of thousands of meters, like the water of the 9 heavens painting a vast ocean. On the body, there is a vast expanse of ocean. From a distance, the ocean has no boundaries. In the vast ocean, you can faintly see some islands in the distance. The ocean was surging, with waves surging. When Lin Moyu saw the ocean, he realized that this ocean was not safe. What flows in the vast ocean is water from the boundary sea, and it is water from the depths of the boundary sea, which itself is extremely dangerous. Not to mention, there are other dangers to national ornaments in the vast ocean. The waterfall flows in from the boundary sea. Over the years, some creatures must have been brought in. These creatures are not easy to mess with. This world is divided into many areas, and different areas should also have their own levels. If it was the outermost layer when I first came in, then it should be the first layer now. Lin Moyu instinctively looked at the marks on his body. Of the 5 marks he left, there are now 2 left. In addition to the lizard heavenly lord who was killed by himself, 2 other heavenly lords also died. Lin Moyu was about to return to his old business and let the skeleton god general explore space, when suddenly he looked into the distance. In the distance, out of sight, the breath of Bai Ti came. The vision of the undead was opened, and 2 soul fires were seen. Judging from the intensity of the soul fire, they were both mid-level gods. The soul fires are constantly colliding, and the 2 mid-level heavenly lords are fighting. Lin Moyu didn't want to care. No matter who was fighting, beating the living and the dead had nothing to do with him. He sent tens of thousands of skeleton god generals, and the skeleton god generals spread out and flew in all directions. Lin Moyu didn't need to do anything, just wait quietly. The skeleton god will first explore the edge of space as planned, and then enter the ocean to look for possible dangers. Lin Moyu didn't want to meddle in other people's business, but one of the heavenly lords he was fighting suddenly flew towards Lin Moyu. Apparently he discovered Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu frowned but did not leave. He wanted to see what the other party meant. Those who beat you, as long as they don't mess with me, it's none of my business if you beat them until the sky is dark and the earth is dark. But if he offended him, Lin Moyu wouldn't be polite. The 2 soul fires were approaching quickly, and Lin Moyu finally saw them clearly. In front is a demon clan, and behind is a huge flying fish. It's him. The mid-level Chinzan of the monster clan belongs to the leopard clan. This family is not slow, but obviously his speed is not as fast as Feiyu, so it seems to be difficult to escape. It can be seen that he has been injured in many places, and his breath is not as good as when he was in his prime. Lin Moyu remembered him. At that time, he had a loud voice and was very hostile to the human race. He is one of those who marked himself. At that time, this middle-level demon clan heavenly lord had an overwhelming aura, and the hair on his body was emitting a dazzling light, as if every hair was like a sharp arrow, a murderous weapon. But now, his hair is scattered and has been cut off in many places, exposing his skin. Obviously he was no match for Feiyu, and he was in a very embarrassed state. The flying fish is more than a kilometer long and has 2 pairs of giant wings. The giant wings are as thin as cicada wings, extremely sharp, and reflect the metallic luster. The flying fish vibrated its wings and launched attacks one after another, causing tiny cracks to appear in the space. The leopard clan heavenly lord let out a strange scream, and immediately accelerated and changed direction to dodge the attack. Lin Moyu was slightly shocked. Feiyu's attack was so powerful. This space is extremely solid, and it is difficult to crack it. Obviously, the attack power of this flying fish is also top-notch among mid-level Chinzan. However, Lin Moyu also discovered that Feiyu also had many wounds on his body. Although this flying fish has strong attack power, its defense power is average. It's just that he is huge, so these injuries are just superficial injuries to him. His attack is too powerful and cannot be blocked by the leopard clan heavenly lord, so he cannot change his body shape and can only respond flexibly. Unfortunately, it also loses in flexibility. It seems that this guy came here to divert trouble to the east. Lin Moyu quickly analyzed the other party's intentions, and it was obvious that the other party came here with bad intentions. Lin Moyu was wary. The Heavenly Lord had more or less secret powers, and no Heavenly Lord was really easy to mess with. Just because you have killed Chinzan before, you can't take it lightly. When the Leopard Clan Heavenly Lord saw Lin Moyu, he looked happy, but more cruel. It turned out to be you. I was worried that I couldn't find you, but I didn't expect you to send him out by yourself. Lin Moyu sneered. 3.8, I'm looking for you too. The Leopard Clan Heavenly Lord laughed loudly. Looking for me to die? Lin Moyu smiled and said, you'd better take care of yourself, you can't protect yourself. The face of the Leopard Clan Heavenly Lord changed, and suddenly his whole body shone brightly and let out a roar. Lin Moyu said that the world of rules was shaking, and the world tree made a roar, stabilizing the world of rules. This roar contained a strong soul impact, which made Lin Yu feel dizzy. While Lin Moyu was absent-minded, the Leopard Clan Heavenly Lord smashed something over. When Lin Moyu came back to his senses, the thing was already in front of him. Fei Yu, who was originally chasing the Leopard Clan Chinzan, suddenly turned around and looked at Lin Moyu to kill him. It turns out that this is his way of diverting trouble away from others. As soon as the thought came up, the Leopard Clan Heavenly Lord roared again, and his soul was shocked again. Although the loss of consciousness is only for a moment, in this situation, the loss of consciousness for a moment is enough to kill someone.